Another SOB edition of Primetime. Sook, Ortner, and Buckley here with you on a Monday. Rop's still out down on the California Peninsula.
Vancouver Ford text line already starting. Does Rop work anymore? Is this his retirement ride into the sunset moment?
Not today, baby.
He will be back tomorrow.
We think.
Well, again, play some odds, but the plan is Rop back tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. But
if he catches his flight.
Stay frosty, boys. Stay frosty. Will, you may be coming in off the bench real fast. Maybe getting that call at about 1:45. All right, ditch the kindergarten room. Come on in.
Well, as everyone here knows, Will is Mr. The best ability is availability.
I told him that when he first started. Will, was that like 2 years ago? How long have you been here?
2 years in August.
Yeah, 2 years. And that was the first piece of advice I told Will. Just be available.
Say yes to everything.
When someone says, hey, do you want it? You're like, yep, that's how I got started. Hey, Sue, can you work mornings? Yeah. Hey, what about the afternoon? Sure.
And that's just it. For those who don't know or might not have been up at the early hour, this is a double dip for Mr. Ortner today. He already did the morning shift today.
He's out there killing it.
Yeah.
He's like a little bulldog out there getting it done. He had an all weekend. He's got a hangover. He'll be fine.
I made sure that everyone knew what was going on. Everyone okayed what I did.
But he made himself available once again.
That's right.
I wasn't expecting...
Will is a pack mule. I love it. He's just out there getting it done. Just climbing the Grand Canyon, load some stuff on his now scrawny, skinny back, who's super thin, by the way.
You mean muscular back?
Yeah, dude, you are officially skinny.
He's gotten quite trim.
Yeah,
I'd call it toned.
You can call it whatever you want. It's always O-linemen always go one of two ways. Right? You just let it go and it's like, bleh, or you dial it back the other way. And I'll give
a perfect rendition of your drop, by the
way. Yeah. Or you go the other way, and Will went with like full on like Joe Thomas the other way. Like Will's full on lean. He's lean, like he's out there on that. It's that Tinder world. He's like, I gotta get skinny. I gotta get out there. Like he is just keeps dropping LBs.
Is it swipe right or swipe left that you want?
I don't know. I've never been on Tinder.
Oh, well.
I've never tried an app.
Oh,
I
feel like there's a whole pond of fish out there for you.
Will's out there just being organic.
Are you still out there getting it done? The Southwest Washington Travis Kelce? Is that still a thing at the bar scene?
I'm not really at the bars either. Although, like, I had a nice time this weekend. We went dancing. It was cool.
Went dancing.
See, that's Skinny Will. Now.
Made some friends.
Fat Will doesn't dance.
Fat Will did not dance.
Skinny Will.
Skinny Will bust a move.
Skinny Will's out there getting it done.
Skinny Will's hanging out with people.
I love it.
I did have a question for Skinny Will today. Because I feel like there's. I try to keep up with certain lingo that's going on with the youngs and often in sports, and I think I get a fair amount of it from NBA Twitter, but I keep seeing people bring up the word brat on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's like a young what is brat
we got to
mean?
go to Will for what the kids are into.
I've heard it talked about with the Olympics. I've heard it talked about with politics. This is brat. That's brat. I don't have the first idea what's going on. And I think it's young.
It's got something to do with it's a Charlie XCX song. I'm not as hip on it as I probably should be, but it's basically like you're good. Like they're trying to take the word back over. Like you're a brat. There's other words that I can't really mention on air right now.
It's
that
they're trying to
take just over. Like cocksure, right? You're like you're like boasted up, right?
Pretty much.
That was my interpretation of it. Like I try to just gather.
With context, try to figure it out.
You trying to stay young over there too? What's going on over here?
We have a lot of guys at my jiu-jitsu place that are young. We have a lot of the young dumbs, and they say stuff. And if you just shut up and listen, like you'd be like, what the, And so I try not to do the that old, but I just listen and like context. And so yes, I've heard that brat, and at first I thought it was an insult, and then I was like, wait, no, I think it's like a confidence thing. I think you just like if you're like the man or if you're the gal, like you're a brat.
Okay.
You're like a badass, I guess.
Are you a brat or are you brat? Is it an adjective or a noun?
I think it can be both.
Okay. I don't think I've learned anything, but
yeah, I would never use anything like that. I just try to
God no.
Like I just try to stay somewhat informed. That way, like my kids don't make fun of me.
I think the last lingo I tried like that was "it's lit" when the kids were saying "it's lit."
Yeah,
but, that was a ways back.
I still say it's lit.
Well, it's rough. Like you run like if you see a guy my age and he's like no cap, you're like, oh my god, please don't. And then someone will be like, dude, that's like 3 years old and already you shouldn't be using it.
Yeah, cap no cap was one that. And Will uses bet all the time.
Bet, yeah,
which basically means like yeah, okay,
yeah, bet
like
or down.
Yeah,
yep.
I'm down. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm a big bet guy.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just
and a big betting guy.
Yeah,
it works.
A lot of-
Both ways. You got to you got to stay in with the youngs. You gotta keep your ear to the well, and Will's a teacher, so he's the best. So
there's some ones out there that you guys have no idea. You thought Brat was blowing your mind.
Well,
there's all kinds
What's
of
the
stuff.
oldest? Do you go up to high school or do you go up to middle school for what you teach?
I teach everything. I can go as far down as like TK and
Mhm.
as high up as
Seniors in high school?
Yeah.
well, I was at a
Imagine being 18 and having Will tell you what you need to know.
well, dude, when
I'm a
you
good
get
teacher.
into like if you're not around kids, and then all of a sudden you get thrown around kids, it's weird stuff happens. And so I find it best that you just shut your mouth and turn around and walk the other way. One, little kids are just mean as can be, and there's nothing you can do back to them. So you can't relate to them. So just you turn and walk the other way. Just at any given point, if I have any interaction with any child like under the age of like 16, just know that nothing you're going to say matters.
There's no common ground. You have nothing to talk about.
No, just turn and walk away. And the worst thing is it's just going to get uncomfortable and awkward. In fact, I went to my gal has like a family group that she calls it like the family group.
Okay.
And it's basically just a bunch of Asians getting together and being Asian. Like,
Okay.
And it's all different kinds of Asians, but they call it family because the Asians stick together, even though all the Asians hate each other. But like this group somehow gets together. So you got a little bit of everything. And the food's
running for president of Asia.
and the food's really good. It's always really good food, but I usually don't go because all my kids are old and all their kids are young.
Okay.
And like none of the husbands or boyfriends, we don't really have anything particularly like to common ground.
Not a lot of overlapping interest.
No. And so I'm just like I'm just the old man of the group. But every now and then I'll go to one. And I went to one this Sunday, and this was a youthful interaction. One of the more awkward interactions I've ever had. And again, I didn't say a word. I just walked away.
Okay.
And I'm sure it was very innocent, and it was probably just tattoo related. But so it was a pool party.
Okay.
We were at someone's house that had a pool. It was way out in the country, and we were all hanging out. And there was a kid who was probably like 10, 11 years old. And he was in like Daisy Duke cutoffs, which already is strange enough. Like I was like
1950s like swimmer boy shorts,
but
like
short.
Okay.
How old?
Like 10, 11 years old. Like, and they were rolled up. I mean, it was like
okay.
they were a lot of thigh, like all thigh.
Guys out, thighs out, baby.
That's weird. But like 20-year-olds, Daisy Dukes are back for men.
Well, it's
That's
back.
the thing.
It's
Daisy
back with the
Dukes?
kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the short inseam, but like we're going like
No, dude,
I've
these
got
are-
lots of short shorts,
Yeah.
dude.
okay.
Rolled.
They're
Rolled,
back.
man.
Okay.
Like you could see the bottom of the pockets.
Well, that's okay with me. I have good legs.
And I was
Top half,
like,
not so much.
yeah, I was like, whoa. So I'm just minding my own business. I was in shorts. I was like in swim trunks and a tank top. I hadn't gone to the pool. It was kind of overcast. It wasn't really warm.
Yeah, the weather was kind of funky this weekend.
Yeah.
It still is.
So I was walking over to grab something to eat. On my way back, this is the conversation. Hand to God. This is exactly how this conversation went down.
Okay.
I don't know who this kid is. I didn't know who this kid belonged to. Never spoken a word to this kid in my life. He looks right at me. He's like by the diving board. And he says, "Are you going swimming?" And I said, I don't know. Maybe if it gets hotter. And he looks right at me and goes, "I want you to take your shirt off."
Mm.
You ever been asked by an 11-year-old to take your shirt off? There's no good response to that. Not a single one. Now, again, I'm sure it was merely because I was wearing a tank top and I have a lot of tattoos. So my guess is he just was interested in the tattoos, right?
And that there was just a social thing missing more than there was
Kids are dumb.
an odd.
yeah, more
desire.
like what are your tattoos, whatever. All I got was, "Are you going swimming?
Take off your shirt.
I'd like you to take your shirt off." At which point I turned,
Bye.
didn't say a word, and walked the other direction and didn't encounter. I spent the entire time.
Honey, can we leave now?
Yeah, I just was like, I'm gonna go over there. And by the way, I let the powers that be, I let the BTJ know, just so you know,
This person said this to me.
that
I have chosen not to engage.
over here. She's like, "What did you say?" I said, "Nothing." I came right over here. I'm gonna come over here.
I'm telling you right now.
And then at that point, I just spent the rest of the time making sure that there was like a pool length. I wanted no impropriety. Just was like, yeah,
Keep a buffer.
yeah, it's nice buffers. Again, sure was very innocent. Sure was just that, but you can't take any chances. You just when a young boy in Daisy Dukes asks you to take your shirt off, there is no good answer to that. There just isn't. So the answer to be given is none. The answer is walk away and walk away briskly.
And don't try to figure it out or navigate it. You're only going to put yourself in a worse position.
Exactly. Yeah, that happened. And then at that same party, there was it was a really cool spread. Like the place was kick-ass. It was like on acreage. They had like a sports court. I picked up a basketball for the first time in like a decade.
Nice.
And you think like shooting a basketball is like riding a bike? It's not. It's not. We were all just sitting around. Everyone was in barefoot, and there were a couple of guys shooting. So I was like, I'll find some common ground with these bros over here shooting. No, I went like 3 for like 72.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just it's an abomination. And like you think eventually, because like you're hitting the rim, you're like, oh, that's close. Eventually they're gonna go in. No. It was just shooting display. I was like, yee. Turns out not picking up a ball. Because I remember, like, I used to play basketball. I was all right. You shoot the ball up. Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. It was just a series of back iron clanks for the better part of 15 minutes, followed by, I'm never picking up a basketball again. That was my party.
I'd probably be in that same boat, and I love getting shots up so much. I couldn't live with that reality of just not ever being able. And so I sunk a hoop in the court or in the backyard last summer, and so I'm not out there all the time. I'm not grinding my face off getting shots up, but the jumper will always flow somewhat easily.
Oh no, I had this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, give me 15 shots. I'll get
lock in.
No, didn't happen. Just like I felt bad because like I think the guy kept feeding me the ball. He was like,
oh, you got this one. Oh, you got this.
No, I didn't have this one because he was shooting the ball pretty good. He was just out there like draining threes. Me, I started at the 3-point line, moved into like the top of the key, and then to like the free throw line. I didn't get any better.
Yeah, let's see if the bank shuts open.
No, there's just a lot of like, at that point, it was either layup or bust. I was like, I'm either working the Tim Duncan hook shot or, you know what? How about I just go take this beer and I go sit down in the grass? It was a humbling experience. Turns out that it is not like riding a bike. You don't just get back up on it.
Yeah, the Vancouver 4 text line person saying, my elbow was sore after getting shots up for the first time in a long time. I get how that goes. Baseball was my sport growing up, and I used to just throw all the time. And then after I was done playing in high school during college, I would coach, in the summer I would coach like clinics and kids camps and things like that. Yeah. And often it involved throwing BP. I coached some traveling teams and stuff like that too. I remember the first time I threw like 200 pitches of BP after I hadn't thrown a ball in like 2 years. Oh my God, I thought my arm was going to fall off the next day.
Yeah. No, mine was there was no pain other than the pain of just
your pride.
Clank after clank after clank after clank. And then like you'd hit like 2 in a row. And you're like, oh, okay. Like
getting it.
Yeah, you drain a couple and you're like, okay, no. And then you miss like 9 more. Then you hit 1, and you miss 17 more. In a row. It's just that point you're like, hibachi, make it rain. And you're just like, look, I'm gonna go take this beer and I'm gonna go avoid a small Daisy Duked boy for a while.
That's what they call being washed.
Yeah, hey, you know what? I know that phrase, and I think I've probably used that more recently than lit. So I guess I am hip.
It's lit. It was so bad, and it was like a youth ball too, so it was like smaller. So everything.
Does that make it worse because it doesn't feel as?
It made it way worse. Yeah. I thought it was like shooting with like a balloon.
No, you lean into that and you go, "This ball isn't regulation." I would have made all those if this ball was regulation.
But the best part is like 20 shots in, one of the guys is like, "Yeah," he's like, "They need a butter ball," and I was like, "Trust me, this has nothing to do with the basketball." He's like, "I think it's a youth ball." I'm like, "Dude, it doesn't matter. Like, let's not blame this on the ball." It was just everything I threw. It was just rocket fire. Just rocket fuel at the back of the iron. And then you're like, okay, I got to ease up. Like you can't shoot it as hard. No, that just leads to you're just hitting the bottom of the net. You're like, yeah, this is not working.
Last weekend,
throwing hand grenades up there.
I had a full-on show of this because we had a barbecue over at my house and some buddies came and everyone wanted to shoot hoops, but almost everybody has not done it in forever. So it got a lot better once they turned the crank and brought it down to about 7.5 feet. Everybody could throw down an easy dunk and felt a little better about themselves.
I'm just warning anyone out there, if you find yourself at a barbecue and you're having to flee a 10-year-old boy, do not seek refuge on the basketball court. It doesn't end well. If you haven't played basketball in a long time, you don't just pick it up. So I'm putting that warning out there to every middle-aged guy out there. Just you think it's a safe haven. It is not. You're just gonna be out there just throwing bricks up for a good solid 20 minutes. Then you have to walk back in shame. You're like, oh boy, this isn't good.
Well, speaking of shame, one of the things we're going to get into today does relate to basketball. Team USA with their first test at the Olympics, passing with flying colors. But is there a little shame for an NBA champion who was left on the bench? We'll get to that. We're also going to talk to our friend the Yammer today, Mike Yam.
I love the Yammer.
Who's going to be doing some Pac-2 and ACC football stuff for the CW, as well as continuing his NFL Network gig. He's going to join us coming up right here at 3:30. So in about 15 minutes, we'll get caught up on all things college and pro football with Mike. Mentioned we have an Olympics roundup, not just the stuff that went on with the basketball team, but there are quite a few highlights from the weekend that was. And in the news, let's see, I've got a new road rage move. I've also got honing your Olympic skills right here in a Portland park. But coming up next, it's football season, kind of. Primetime, 1080 The Fan.
The Ducks are on a roll.
They
NFL Network, going to join us to preview both the college football and NFL seasons. He has been a very busy man. He's a great friend of the show. We're looking forward to that. Also, one question from the Vancouver Ford text line. They asked if did y'all ever discuss the open wound Suk saw riding his bike in Vancouver?
Oh, yeah.
We did. We did it in the club on Friday. So if you missed that, you can check out our podcast. You can check it out on the Odyssey app. You can check it out really any place. You can go back to our YouTube channel. But we did discuss. It was pretty heinous, but you may not want to miss it.
Well, if you've ever wondered, can you clean a frothing wound with a Armor All car wipe? The answer to that question is yes.
You can, at least as far as we know. But we are going to transition to a little football now. Our primetime poll question today. I just realized this morning that we get live football this week.
Hall of Fame game.
Hall of Fame game's Thursday.
Caleb Williams, I don't think, he said that he doesn't think he's going to play in it.
It seems like that's going to be the case. And actually, coming up a little bit later, I have some audio from his backup. I wanted to know if you think he's awesome or if you think he's a total douche. It's going to be one of the two. But we're asking you for the poll question today. Starting this week, we'll get 26 straight weeks of live football on our televisions. What are you most excited for over that 6-month stretch? Is it the new college football playoff? Is it new college football conferences? Is it a fresh NFL season? Or is it the new NFL kickoff rules, a.k.a. I don't care?
I am intrigued by what the kickoffs have to offer. I told you, this is how stupid I am. I read like an hour-long article about the new kickoff rule. Like someone went and watched every kickoff from the XFL and the UFL and like charted it. I mean, it was a really in-depth article. And
it said like 700 kickoffs or something like that, right?
And I was reading this thing and I was like, what am I doing? Like, why? I also think that the first time we get someone that has a big return, someone's just going to kick it into the back of the end zone and be like, take the ball at the 30. Now it's at the 25.
That's the thing. NFL coaches are the most risk-averse individuals out there. So if you can't get it exactly right with your coverage unit, dudes are just going to start booting it again.
Yeah, well, like I looked at all these different charts, and most of the time you had people that had starting position of about the 27, yard line, between 27 and 28 yard line. That was usually where, and they broke it down by types of kick: squib kick, deep kick, coffin corner kick, kick into the left, middle, right, one returner, two returner. I mean, it's a really, really in-depth article. I can't remember where I saw this. It was on Twitter, but I don't remember where the guy had actually written it. But I was thinking to myself, because there are people who are like, oh man, this is going to be so much fun, and there's going to be all these like crazy things, and running backs or receivers going to be back there returning. And all I keep thinking about is, if the average kick in almost all of these situations ends up on the 27 or 28 yard line,
then we're in no different spot than we were before, right?
And the touchbacks now go to the 25, or did, when we made this rule change. The first time a team just thinks their coverage is leaky, I'm turning to my guy and being like, dude, you kick that effing thing into the back of the end zone and we'll take it at the 30. Because at that point, you're sacrificing, on average, 2 yards. 2.5 yards. So I'm not certain that that's going to be it's going to be weird. Like the first time we watch this weekend and we see it, we're going to be like, oh my God, that's strange. I'm just not certain it's going to have the impact that everyone thinks it's going to have. I think maybe we're a bit over our skis. To me, it's the college football playoff. Like the NFL every year is fantastic.
Yeah.
Dude, I am so nerdy. Dude, I'm sitting there and I'm reading about, different training camps. I'm going through depth charts. I'm listening to podcasts. I just love the NFL. I get excited about it. But the NFL's there every year. But the fact that we have a new expanded playoff in college football, that one for me is it, and maybe down the road it won't matter as much. We'll get used to it and then be like, oh, it's just like the NFL playoffs. And the NFL is far superior to college football. It's not even close. Just the quality of play, the depth of the teams. The NFL is just such a superior product, especially now that you've taken away a lot of the amateurism, which is kind of what people loved about college football.
Right.
That's dead and gone. It's just NFL light, and it's an inferior product. But the expansion of the playoffs this year, and knowing that 1 or 2 games doesn't eliminate you, and that you're going to have to win, more than 2 games to win a national title, at least for the short term, that one has me pretty juicy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that, and all the different conferences and the matchups. I just think there's a lot of good buzz for all the people crapping on college football right now because of NIL and the lawsuits and the House settlement and all this crap. At the end of the day, here in another couple of weeks, we're going to kick off. We're going to have kick-ass games, bigger games, more games than ever. And at the end of the year, we get something that we've all been clamoring for 100 years, and that's a college football playoff.
I'm super excited about it. That would be the number one for me too, and it's not really even close. I am excited to see what Oregon in the Big Ten looks like. I'm obviously, like many, disappointed about the erosion of the Pac-12, but as an Oregon alum, I'm turning the page and seeing like, what's up next? What are we? And that's great, but the playoff is it. And because I think now college football is going to most closely reflect the way to determine the fairest way of determining the champion, because it's like you're getting in the tournament with the NFL. It's not the exact same number of teams or whatever, but I just love that whether you have a hiccup early in the season or you're just peaking late and at the right time, I like that the team that's playing best for a month stretch at the end is probably going to be the one to hoist the trophy.
Yes, because I don't like. Sorry, my mic stand here is all kinds of
wonky.
I don't like that the way college football has been in the past is you have to be the best team for 14 weeks.
You have to be flawless.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, Major League Baseball, nothing's like that. It's like when the Braves the best regular season team. Cool, great. Can you win in the playoffs?
Right.
No, you can't. So thanks for coming. Get out of here. I remember a couple of those years, like the Stanford teams. At the end of the year, no one wanted to play those Stanford teams. Last year with Florida State, and it sucked that Florida State got bumped, but with the injuries and only 4 teams, Florida State wasn't one of the best 4 teams. And now under this new system,
they get a chance to prove it.
They get a chance to prove it. So and I like that you can have some hiccups early on in the year. And then as your team grows and develops, you got a freshman quarterback, and by the time we get to week 8, that's a different quarterback than we saw in week 1. I just want to find out who's the best team at the end of the year. And it's the best way to do it. And we're finally going to get that opportunity. And I think it's taking, for all the stuff that's wrong with college football, we're getting a lot of things that are right with college football. And this is the true way to do it, because it's so ridiculous the way we used to do it in the past. There's no other level of football that does it that way.
Right.
None.
Well, I mean, think about it in the NFL. If the Chiefs lose 3 games in a row at the end of end of October, early November, you're saying they don't get a shot to try and win the Super Bowl at the end of the season? And I know that college football has been a different beast for so long, but like you said, as we've lost some of the amateurism in it, I think it's more appropriate that it more reflects a professional model of, no, this really is the best team. It's not just who either set up their schedule right or who didn't have a hiccup. It's who's playing the best the last month of the season.
And I don't know if we'll ever get a Cinderella. I don't know if that can exist with the talent gap that exists in college football. In fact, I think it's probably harder than ever to get Cinderella. Like TCU was the closest thing we got to a Cinderella, and TCU got bludgeoned to death by Georgia. Now you're going to ask TCU to win, 3 or 4 of those games.
Did Cincinnati make a playoff too?
Cincinnati made a playoff,
and they got blasted. But obviously TCU made the championship game.
Yeah, right. And so I think it's harder than ever for that. But maybe we at least give you a shot. Central Florida a couple years ago, they're going to get drilled by one of those teams.
Yeah.
But maybe they get a Boise State moment. Boise State, the year they beat Oklahoma. Dude, that's a kick-ass moment.
And let's see if beating Oklahoma springboards them into being able to do it again, or let's find out if they can't. But at least we're going to get to see.
Yes. So to me, for all the fault to be laid at the feet of college football, and believe me, there is a ton. And for Oregon State fan, for Washington State fan, there's just no one's going to say anything that's going to make you feel better. You got screwed. But let's also be fair and say that those teams weren't teams that were really ever going to compete for a championship and have never really done it, with the exception maybe OSU the one year.
Yeah.
And under that system that we have now, they would have had a chance that year, the magical Fiesta Bowl year. You would have had a chance to prove it. So I can't say never say never, but in the history of college football, you had 1 year. But it doesn't change the fact that it sucks. And there are some people that did get kneecapped, but for the most part, for the majority of the teams going forward, this is going to be a good thing. Maybe some rocky roads, and we're gonna lose some people on the way, and some fans are gonna bitch and moan. But I think the product and the result is going to be better than we've ever had it, and I'm excited for it.
Well, we need to run here because Mike Yam is going to join us on the other side of the break. The Yammer coming in to talk college football and the NFL. That's coming up next. But first, Ortner with SportsCenter.
Now.
But we are joined right now by a good friend on the show, one Mike Yam. He is working now for the CW covering college football, working for the NFL Network, obviously covering NFL football, but also children's author of Fried Rice and Marinara. Mr. Do-It-All, Mike Yam, joining us. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. I appreciate it. You should be on the golf course too. I just want to throw that out there.
We agree.
This should be like a team effort.
Yeah, we don't have that Rob schedule. He, he's like the Aaron Rodgers of the group. He has the unexcused absence that's excused. I
hear you.
It's a good thing.
If you get a tee time at Pebble, you can't move it. Just like Rodgers' trip to Egypt.
You just look. For me, I'll just take off whenever they let me take off. So, but I wouldn't mind getting out onto the golf course myself. Just throwing that out there.
Well, listen, Mike, we're excited to connect, mostly because you've got a new gig. You want to tell us a little bit about it and what you're excited for?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. God, this is so crazy how the world comes together the way that it does. Obviously spent a long time covering the Pac-12 at Pac-12 Network, about a decade there. And in 2020, I didn't have a job there anymore and have been really fortunate and have loved my time at NFL Network. And I still get to do the NFL thing. But I had some folks from the Pac-12 side reach out to me a couple months ago and say, hey, any interest in potentially coming back? And my response initially was, coming back to what? There's no network. Like, what are we talking about? And no, they explained to me that they were going to be housing a lot of the pregame, postgame, halftimes, the fills, all that stuff for the CW. So I said, dude, I am so in if that can come together. And, I got permission from NFL Network, and obviously Oregon State and Washington State will be on the CW this year, which I'm thrilled about. And then we get to expand. ACC was on CW a year ago, and looking forward to adding to their coverage this season.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's like this ever evolving thing. Do you think over the next, if I had to give you a timeline, put on the Mike Yam future thinking cap, when does all this kind of get settled? Do we come to a final reality in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you think this is an ongoing evolution?
Are you talking about realignment in particular?
Yeah, again, we got the House settlement lawsuits, and we got scholarship limits and NIL stuff, and there's antitrust, and now we've got realignment, and the ACC could be, eventually we're going to settle on something. It's just when.
Agreed. Look, the whole landscape of college athletics, we have seen this evolution happening for years when it comes to the portal, now NIL. By the way, I was at ACC Media Days last week. The players look better than they ever have before. I did like a decade of media days, right? Yeah. I don't remember like the Louis Vuitton shoes and the bling that looks really real. I'm just throwing that out there. NIL money is a real thing for a lot of these players, which is cool to see, and I'm glad they're able to get it. So from a portal perspective and an NIL perspective, I think this thing just continues on the tracks and is going to continue to progress. From a realignment standpoint, I don't even think we're close to done. In fact, I'll tell you, look, there's obviously uncertainty in the ACC with Clemson and Florida State, but I would just fast forward here. I think in 10 years, and I'd have to go through all these television contracts, so I'll just put a broad number of a decade out. The rivalries that we have grown and loved on the West Coast in the Pac-12 conference, I am convinced will be back. And I don't know if it's going to be called the Pac-12, but I just don't know how sustainable it is to have the current landscape of a Power Four, the four major conferences now. I just don't know how realistic that is in the long term. I mean, it's these giant land grabs. I still think you would net out on more of an NFL model. And I'll throw this out there. Look, once again, I was at ACC Media Days. I live in Los Angeles now, and I didn't feel great Monday morning. I flew in Sunday. I'm telling you, I talked to some of these coaches out on the West Coast, and I get it, they charter, but there's a body clock thing where I don't know how we expect some of these kids, like Cal and Stanford going to the East Coast. That's not going to be fun. SMU has got like a treacherous stretch where they're going like Texas, East Coast, back to Palo Alto, back to Texas. I mean, you're logging some serious frequent flyer miles. And I just, to your point, I don't think it's done. And I really do think there's a lot more realignment to come.
Well, and I know it's weird because no one talks about it, but we are still supposedly making these kids go to school. Like it's such a weird thing in all of this. You don't hear one thing about academics, and I know it's to the back burner now and everyone gets paid, but you still, like, the last time I checked, there's still NCAA like qualifying, and there's still like academic progress, and you do have to go to class at least right now.
You agreed. And look, although you do see some of these guys, like I talked to a couple players at ACC Media Day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, all my stuff's online." I'm like, "Damn, they're still doing that?" Like, I feel like this is still a thing, and it is. And some of them are grad students. And I talked to one kid who's a 7-year guy. Oh my God, I wish I was on that 7-year plan. I'll tell you that when I was in school. But you're right. Like, there's a lot of demands. So I just think it's going to be crazy over the next couple of years. And look, I think, to your point on some of the things that they have to do academically on top of, just the travel and the demands of being, an athlete, I'm glad they're getting their share in NIL cash. I really am.
I wanted to ask you too, Mike, because you are going to be covering Oregon State and Washington State, about what your expectations are for their programs, specifically their football programs in this new normal. Obviously, they're the two that get left out in the cold. They're the two that don't get to be in a power conference. They're still trying to carry over as much of their roster from being in the Pac-12 as they can, but there have been massive departures from both. I think it's still positive that they're going to be on TV, that they're not shut out entirely, but it is obviously very different. What are the vibes you're getting from those programs, and what's your expectation in covering them this season?
Yeah, look, I'm excited to see the products on the football field, because we spend a lot of time talking about what's going to happen off of the field. And in due time, we'll get some of those answers. But I think it's unsettling. I think it's unsettling for an administration, for the student athletes that are there, for the coaches. It's really meaningful. Like, from a Jonathan Smith perspective, I don't blame him, right, for leaving. I mean, it sucks for Oregon State. I didn't think it was going to happen. But when you just don't know where you're going to be competing, what's that level of competition? Are you going to have the resources to be able to compete? I mean, look, when God, I don't think I was about to call out one coach in particular, but I think this is every single coach. Coach takes over a brand new program. One of the first questions he's going to ask an athletic director is like, what's my budget for support staff? Can I go and pay coordinators top dollar, and compared to what some of the other coordinators are making in the league? Like, those are the types of things that are meaningful. And I think right now, from a Washington State and an Oregon State perspective, they're still trying to figure out, hey, like, what is this next step? Is it combining with the Mountain West? Is it some sort of reverse merger? I've seen like the European soccer model, where teams would come up, and if they did well, they'd stay, and other teams get relegated down. I mean, it's been pretty creative. I think there's also a school of thought of saying, like, hey, let's see what happens with this Clemson-Florida State situation. And is there, a deal with them? Is there a deal that changes from an ACC perspective? Already, two teams on the West Coast with Stanford and Cal that are familiar with, obviously, the two teams in the Pac-12. So, I just think the uncertainty is unsettling. And I think hopefully we get an answer within the next year or so. From a contractual obligation, I do love the fact, and I sound like a company guy because you're asking me about the CW when we come on, but one of the major issues that this league had for a long time was eyeballs and distribution. I mean, think about this. Oregon State and Washington State will probably get more eyeballs on their games than any of the games that were played on Pac-12 Network over the course of the 10 years that I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of reality,
That's
right?
wild,
Like, I don't know the exact numbers, but I don't think I'm far off, if I'm being honest with you. Like, they got penetration across the board in every household in this country. Pac-12 Network, I know for a fact, didn't have that. So, and I think at our peak, what were we, 20 million homes, something along those lines. So I just think about the opportunity from an opportunity for these schools to get their teams out there and get eyeballs on the product.
Yeah, and hopefully, it can get settled, because the longer it goes, the resources dwindle, and, you kind of get forgotten. So time is not your friend, but fingers crossed. Now, I want to ask you, like, because you were at the ACC Media Day, and obviously what happened to the Pac-12 was a lot of people's fault. But look, UCLA and USC was the domino, and then Oregon, Washington was the killer. And, and now there's a lot of, like, bitter feelings. Well, in the ACC, you got two schools right now that are trying to kill that conference, basically. And, how awkward was it? Awkward, knowing that everyone's there, and yet it's not a united front. And there's two schools that are actively suing, saying, we're better than you. I don't want to be a part of this. What sort of vibe was there at ACC Media Day when we've already seen you can kill a conference? Like, it used to be, a conference like that can't fail. Yes, it can.
you're 100% accurate. And I think it's a really good question. And, it's funny, Max Brown, who obviously played at SC for a little bit, played at Pitt. He's going to be, one of my teammates on the CW calling mostly ACC games. We were talking about this, and I think he kind of painted a pretty good picture because I was gone in 2020 from Pac-12 Network. So a lot of these conversations, like you hear occasional rumblings. Clearly there were some universities that felt like their brands were bigger than the other ones in the league. And, a disproportionate share of cash should go to those campuses. That's not how the Pac-12 worked. It was an even share across the board. And, maybe that was part of the reason why you saw the defections from the LA schools. But Max made a really good point. He said over the course of the last couple of years, there's been so much, well, what happens now? The league is over. And it was so unsettling. He said it wasn't for him. ACC Media Day wasn't exactly that vibe, but there was some reminders of it. Because to your point, like there are two schools very publicly unhappy with the roles that they have right now. And I think if you're Florida State or Clemson, you got two of the great brands in college football, right? I mean, God, I remember growing up as a kid watching all these Florida State games. Like to me, they got to feel like, how do we go and compete? And the dollars over time, over the next few years, that delta just gets bigger and bigger. And if you're talking about tens of millions of dollars that the teams that they're trying to knock off in a college football playoff have at their disposal, that is meaningful. That is so meaningful. And your margin of error just decreases so much more. You just got to be able to hit on almost all the prospects, all the kids that you're trying to get. And I know Clemson's not dipping into the portal per se, but you go into the portal, you go into the high school ranks, no matter what, you can't miss. And I just think that those schools sit back and go, this is not something that's sustainable long term, and there's got to be a better option.
Mike, want to hit on NFL with you just for 1 second before we get you out of here. But I know you've been really busy. You're at Rams camp, and coming up, you're headed to Baltimore's camp, Atlanta's camp, and Buffalo's camp. Of the things that you've covered so far this summer with the NFL, or that you're going to be covering in the next week or so, what's really stood out to you?
Wow. Look, you just mentioned Baltimore. I'm actually really excited. Last year during the season, I don't know if you felt this way, I thought the Ravens were the best team in the NFL. Yeah. No disrespect to the Chiefs, who clearly can say that they are, because guess what? They won the Super Bowl and they beat
them head-to-head
in Baltimore in an AFC championship game. I get all of that. In the regular season, the Ravens to me were the scariest team, a dominant offense and a dominant defense. And to me, sometimes you need to learn how to win. And Baltimore, I think, might have learned a really tough lesson on how to win in a really deflating loss in that championship game, that AFC championship game against Kansas City. And I think there are teams in the AFC right now that go and look at the Chiefs and say, how do we build our team to beat that squad? And I think Derrick Henry has a lot of tread still left on those tires. And as much as I think Derrick Henry can help Lamar Jackson in that offense, I think Lamar Jackson in that offense can help Derrick Henry. No team is going to now look at Derrick Henry in the backfield and say, only threat, they're definitely running, he's getting the rock. And, oh, by the way, he still was able to dominate. I just think the options for this offense, there were two designed runs for Lamar Jackson in the AFC championship game, and they lost. I can't help but think that maybe that play calling is a little bit different this upcoming season if we're talking about an AFC championship game with those two teams again.
I have yelled it from the mountaintop now for months, and I've been doing this for 22 years. Wow. And I, to this day, will tell you, I cannot recall a worse game plan than what the Baltimore Ravens had in that game. And I've yet to see an explanation for it. It baffles me. It is one of those things that, like, it'll be 10 years from now and I'll randomly bring it up to someone and be like, this old man, I just don't understand it. The number one rushing team in the NFL against a defense that isn't, the one thing that they don't do well is stop the run. And you go into that game, we're like, what we're not going to do? We're not going to run the ball. No, we're not. I think in the second half, they gave their two backs 3 carries. It's just the most, and they still almost won. So it's the most, as you can tell, I'm still, it's still, whenever it gets brought up, you brought up the Ravens being the best team, I just want to start yelling, yes, 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 they should have won the Super Bowl. But they didn't, because they refused to run the ball.
Yeah. Look, they had success too. Even Todd Monken, who I thought, by the way, did a tremendous job during the season. Yes. That offense was explosive. They were great in the air, and that's what we wanted to see, the evolution of Lamar Jackson. But I got to tell you, you get to the postseason, you got to run a little bit, and it was a tough watch, man. I thought the Ravens were going to win the Super Bowl last year. I did not see that playing out the way that it did.
Mike, really appreciate your time and sticking on with us for a little bit longer. But congratulations to you in the new gig. We are excited to see you covering what used to be Pac-12 teams regularly on Saturdays coming up this season, and we'll catch you on the NFL Network as well. You can follow him at Mike_Yam on Twitter. As always, Mike, thanks for joining us.
I always appreciate the invite. Thanks again.
Absolutely. The great Mike Yam, always nice connecting with him. Coming up next, Suk and Yam talking about the Ravens in the Super Bowl. One parlay ticket needs them to win to cash $223,000. We'll give you the details next. Yam on the program. He and Suk were talking about just how good the Baltimore Ravens are, or were at the end of last year, and that mind-numbing offensive play calling.
You can tell that someone had money on the Ravens to win that game and the Super Bowl. Freaking A.
Well, this comes up I would say probably every couple weeks or so, but I feel like we get a gambler out there who's put together a ridiculous parlay and they need one more thing to hit, and then we start playing the should they sell the ticket game.
Sure.
This has now happened one more time. There's an 18-leg parlay that was a $5 wager, stands to pay out $222,000. It's one of the most bizarre that I've seen. 11 of the 18 legs are from 2 UFC events.
Okay.
They hit all those fights. The other 4 legs, or 4 of the other legs, are from Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Pacers and Celtics.
It's random.
They hit a Jaylen Brown points over, a Pascal Siakam points over, a Drew Holiday points over, and an Andrew Nembhard points over. The last thing they need on their card to cash is the Ravens to win the Super Bowl at plus 950.
Really?
So it's a $5 bet to win $222,000, and PropSwap, which is one of these institutions that will think that it's a good deal based on the odds, will buy tickets off of people. Current offer is $20K on that.
Oh, you got to let that ride. Screw that.
You think so?
Yeah, dude.
No.
The Ravens are good. You don't sell that thing.
I think I'm selling.
No, I'd wait because Baltimore isn't going to fall on their face now. And as that gets closer, Baltimore is a playoff team. I still think Baltimore is the best team in football. Now we'll see what happens. Mike McDonald leaving, certainly you lose a coordinator, you could fall off a bit, but the vast majority of this team is back. Look, this is, and I think you got better at running back. I think you learned a lesson in the second half of that game against the Chiefs. Might want to run the ball when that's the thing you do better than anyone else. Let Lamar Jackson at that point run the ball, or turn around and hand it to Justice Hill, or I don't know, that Derrick Henry guy. Like, you have real weapons on the outside. Like, Baltimore is good. Baltimore is an 11-win team in their sleep. So wait until they win 12 games. Wait until they're the 1 or 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. Maybe wait until they win a wild card game, and then go ahead and sell the ticket. Because you $20,000 now is fine. Even if you wait through the regular season and Baltimore is going to be good, that ticket will end up being at least 40 if you want to sell it. This isn't like you betting on the Jets.
No.
Who I think the Jets are going to be good too. I think some people are sleeping on the Jets. The Jets are better than they were a year ago, and you add in Aaron Rodgers, and they won 7 games last year. This isn't the Jets that's being held together by a bunch of old dudes and like a tender Achilles and some mushrooms. Like, the Ravens are good. When's the last time the Ravens were bad? It
doesn't happen under John Harbaugh.
This ticket will only get better.
See, and that's fair. I can get behind that. But I also think that shows the differences in how much money you and I have in our bank account, because $20,000 does a lot of stuff for Will.
Yeah, but
maybe it doesn't do a lot of stuff for others.
For the most part, $20,000 doesn't change your life. That's all I'm saying. When you get done paying taxes,
changes mine and Will's life.
But it really
Rent
doesn't.
got real cheap.
It doesn't change Will's life. It makes life a little more comfortable for Will, but it doesn't change anyone's life. So you just let that go. Now, if you're telling me that someone's offering you like, $500,000 or something, and you can buy a house and pay off your debt or whatever, or start a business, but come on.
I do
Let
think
that ride. Baltimore is gonna be fine. Baltimore is almost that entire team's back. The only real question is does losing McDonald just gut you? And that almost never happens in the NFL when you bring so much back.
The gambler in me thinks that is the absolute right way to play it, is let the regular season play out a little bit, and especially if they can get off to a hot start, watch that $20K offer go up to $40K or $60K, and then have a different reevaluation of it. But being someone who $20,000 would make a big difference right now, I would also be risk averse. Be like, well, what if something happens to Lamar in week 1 and then my ticket go poof? That's what would be my other concern. So I think I'm taking the $20K.
It is a tough schedule for Baltimore. They're at Kansas City to start, which is tough. And we're going to get that's the Super Bowl, the AFC title game rematch. Yeah, no one cares. But there's that. And then Vegas, whatever. Dallas, and again, you can say what you will about Dallas. Dallas wins 11 games every year. And then you got Buffalo, Cincinnati. I mean, that's 4 of your first 5 games are legitimate squads. Dallas, Buffalo, Cincy, and Kansas City. I don't know what to make of Vegas. I think Vegas is whatever. But I mean, that's a tough 5-game stretch. I could see you going 3-2 there, or 2-3. I personally think 3-2, maybe even 4-1. But I see where you're going. But then then they get Washington, Denver's mixed in there. I just know Baltimore will be fine. Baltimore is fine every single year. There's certain teams in the NFL that you can just trust. and the Ravens are one of those teams. John Harbaugh, and I guess if you want Mike Tomlin, I don't think he has a losing season.
He does not.
They're not great, but they don't lose. Well, the Ravens are better than mediocre. The Ravens just win every single year, and they're not going anywhere.
Coming up next hour, we'll get to Stockwatch, what we're buying and selling from the sports weekend. Also, multiple sword-related stories in the news. But coming up next, we'll continue to talk NFL, talk some quarterbacks. And it's not often we play backup quarterback audio, but you're getting some of that. It's next on Primetime on 1080 The Fan. here on Monday. Coming up later this hour, Will has the Stockwatch coming up next. We'll get to In the News with a couple of sword news stories. Also, a little bit later in the show, how a crap storm cost France $1.5 billion and one-upped the poop-filled Willamette. We'll do an Olympics roundup as well. But right now, I wanted to talk a little more NFL with you, and we'll talk about some of the big names in just a moment, but there was one piece of audio today that I needed your opinion on, and yours too, Will. You may have differing opinions. Do you remember the secret Bagent man? Tyson Bagent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bears backup.
Bears backup quarterback.
He
like
got
a Division III cat, right?
Division
D2,
and he was also like gonna be like a professional CrossFitter if he didn't get a gig in the NFL. He's this like crazy hardo workout bro, and he's coming back as a backup for the Bears once again.
He is their backup.
He is their backup, so we're going to see him in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday. But he was asked at a recent media availability about competition for the backup job, and he gave an answer that I was not prepared for. There's going to be a lot to unpack here. Let's let it rip here.
Yeah, I didn't really think too much about it. I was too busy grinding my absolute face off in the off season. But whatever they were going to do, that's completely up to them. I can't control that. But yeah, I was just excited to come back. Whoever was going to be in the QB room was going to be in the QB room. Nothing was going to change on my end though. But yeah, like you said, it feels good to know that they have some, that they have confidence in me, and that they like what I was able to do last year, and hopefully they're being able to see the strides that I've made in the off season and going into year 2.
What was the hardest grinding your face off thing that you did?
June 19th, shout out to one of my best friends, Derek Gallagher, 1 mile burpee broad jump. Hour and 7 minutes.
I've seen that.
Let's go.
Is that for a mile?
Burpee broad jump. Burpee broad jump. 1 mile.
How many calories do you burn on?
I don't know. I ate a lot after that. It was nice.
What would you eat afterwards? Where'd you go after that?
I went to Betty's. Shout out to Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Went to Betty's restaurant. I think I just got 6 eggs and bacon with some toast. I might not be getting better necessarily at football when I'm doing a workout like that. However, just the mental edge that it gives me, finding out, what I can endure versus what the next man can endure, in a sense gives me a little mental edge when I show up to things like this and people start complaining about our schedule. I can kind of have somewhere in the back of my head that I've done things far worse than this. That I can handle really kind of anything that's thrown at me and be able to just keep the main thing, let it flow off the shoulders, and just kind of, react to what happens next.
So, pretty cool, pretty stupid, or somewhere in between doing the broad jump burpee mile, grinding your absolute face off.
Somewhere in between. Again, I don't know. And he was honest about it. I love that it doesn't make you a better football player, but I mean, I don't know why you would ever need. I've heard of people doing this, by the way. Right when he said burpee mile, I was like, oh, I've heard of this.
I was not familiar. Like you said, it took him an hour and 7 minutes to complete it.
I don't even want to know how long it would take me, and I would quit because that's just silly. Yeah, you do a burpee, and then on your way up, instead of jumping up, you jump out, and you have to do that for a mile.
How quick you're getting burned out on that? Like,
oh, I'm sure you have to. Well, he did
my broad jump would be about 4 inches by the time.
He did it in an hour, an hour or whatever. So, I like, hey, whatever you need to find your motivation, like to be fitness bro. That is baffling. Again, doesn't make you a better quarterback, but I do think that there was some truth to what he said of like some sort of intestinal fortitude. Although I don't think you really need that sort of fortitude to play quarterback in the NFL. Like, it's not really
or for you to be tough enough to make it through whatever limited practices you're having to do in training camp.
That has nothing to do with playing quarterback. That dude is just obsessed. He said he was going to be a professional CrossFitter.
And I like his vibe. Yeah. He's just like a hardo workout bro. I think his dad was into bodybuilding before
his dad's like a world record holder arm wrestler.
Oh, there it is. Yeah,
the dad was always on the sidelines, like wanting to arm wrestle people. His dad is super, super tough guy.
Yeah, this guy was a big deal when I was playing. He's the same graduating class as me. I believe he might be a year after me. But he was a big deal in D2 circles. Like, everyone talked about Bagent. He was like the whole reason his team was good. It wasn't a traditionally like talented team, but this is also why he's there. Like, yeah, he's a little bit stupid, but he's also not afraid to work hard.
Yeah,
right.
And you need that.
And that's why he's there. He's not there because he's superior in talent.
I got a bunch of
works
people.
hard.
I got a bunch of people in my family that on the smart side of the family that are all doctors. It's stupid. My aunt's like 9 kids are all PhD MDs. You're like, holy crap, like the smartest people in the world. And they tell you all the time that like half of medical school is just proving that you can grind through things.
Right.
You know, and like that's just.
And you hear some of the same things about law school as well. Being able to get through the literature, pass the bar, like that may be actually harder than the practicing of the law or the applying of the medicine. Like, can you prove that you can balance all
Same
this?
thing, special forces training, like in the military, the Navy SEALs, like Hell Week. It's just how far can you push yourself? And, you know, I don't think that many people in the NFL could do or be willing to do that. And that doesn't mean he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, but it does mean that you're a tough son of a bitch. And you know what? There is something to NFL teams like people that are tough. Tough guys, the whole toxic masculinity thing gets a bad rep every now and then, and I get it, but sometimes you need tough guys in this world. That makes me like him a little bit more. Ridiculous, but makes me like him a little bit more. Somewhere Asachi, by the way, thinks that's the biggest idiot in the world.
He thinks that me and Tyson would be best friends.
Yes. Rob hates anything that is physically challenging. Rob would just sit there and be like, why
would I do that? Why would I go on a hike?
Yeah, Rob doesn't want to go on a hike. This dude's doing a burpee mile. And by the way, of all the physical things you can do, that sounds like one of the worst.
It sounds like hell
that you could possibly do.
There's no chance I'd do it. No chance.
I couldn't. My quads would give out. It wouldn't happen. I might make it one time around the track, maybe.
And I've done a beer mile. Like, I'm not doing.
I'd have an easier time doing a beer mile than a burpee mile, no question.
The closest thing that I've ever done to this is we did a half-mile tire flip.
Oh.
Which is nowhere near as bad as this.
But that sounds pretty brutal.
But I've done the half mile, 2 laps on the tire flip. And you could do a mile. I mean, look, it sucked. And again, depends on how big the tire was. It's not like we were flipping a 900-pound tire, but it was a big, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how heavy it was, but it was a big ass, it was a big ass tractor tire. And we did it for half a mile. And I don't know. That was, I mean, it took a while. It's not something you do in 10 minutes. But the burpee thing sounds way, way worse. But it's all that. It's an endurance test. And, you get guys like at BYU, we had to hike the Y.
Mm-hmm.
We had to run up a mountain or the Walter Payton, and lots of guys had different weird training modalities.
Sure.
Steve Blake used to do triathlons, like in the offseason. That was his thing for the Blazers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did,
wow,
he did triathlons and like what Dame does, boxing workouts and stuff. And
me and Dame are just alike. I did a boxing workout this weekend too.
Lots of dudes that like to push themselves. I just is one that I will not at 46 years old or at 26 years old. I will not be doing a burpee mile.
Well, I can't recall Jim Harbaugh's exact age, but speaking of football hardos.
Locked, cocked, ready to rock.
Did you see what he was doing at the end of last week at Chargers camp? How he was strapped in, pulling his lineman on a sled, like pushing backwards. Did you see this at all?
What? Yeah. Harbaugh was?
You know how he does the stuff where he wears the cleats and he goes out shirtless and he chucks the ball around. Like,
I thought he had gone beyond that because he's kind of old now and fat.
Well, that's actually good for you. You're supposed to walk backwards with the sled. It helps your knees.
Let's see. I'm sure I can find this for you, and maybe we'll have to do it in the break. But
I see it here, the workout video.
Yeah, where he's basically like, he's in a stance and he's pulling a big dude on a sled with like a rope around his waist, like he's towing him.
He's doing knees over toes. All right.
That is a workout plan that I have purchased.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really good for your knees. It helped save me.
Nice. Look at Jim Harbaugh out there. God bless Jim Harbaugh. If any coach in the NFL would be doing some sort of weird sled pull, it indeed would be Jim Harbaugh. I've talked about this. The evolution of Jim Harbaugh is the strangest thing because however many years ago when he was at Stanford, which is like probably 15 years ago? It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's about right.
When he was first at Stanford, like I remember going down to Pac-12 media days, and like Jim Harbaugh was like a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was jacked, hadn't been done playing for that much time.
He was like the all-American boy all grown up.
Yeah, just looked like a president, should be the governor of California, right? Great hair, like just dialed in, great suit, and you've just watched him. Like over the years, just morph into he's morphed into his dad.
Yeah, it's true.
So now he just wears like khakis and cleats, and like he stopped like trying to comb his hair. He wears a hat all the time, and he's got like a boiler now, and like when he was shirtless, like working out with his guys. He's just white as can be.
Doesn't care.
And he's got some moves happening. It's just weird to see the evolution of Jim Harbaugh from where he was.
And I'm sure he didn't care a ton or he still didn't care a ton about his image back then, but he cares nothing about his image now.
No,
it's just
great.
It's all football all the time.
Although I like him out there. Like
I do too.
He's got to be what, in his 60s?
He is.
How old is Jim Harbaugh?
60 on the dot.
60 on the dot. He's out there pulling a sled with a lineman on it. All right.
Yeah.
Way to go, Jim Harbaugh. Get out there, get it done. I remember like once when Chip Kelly was like running routes, like with his receivers. Speaking of a guy too that's also kind of let itself go over the years.
Is generous.
I give you Chip. Yeah, the story goes is that when Chip first got to Oregon and he was interviewing for the job, like before the interview, he was like down running routes with the receivers. And now I'm like, I don't think Chip's running many routes nowadays.
No, I don't think so either. The one athletic highlight I remember seeing from Chip, I think was his first year in Philly, where they were all going to like go hop in a pool, and Chip did like a big old swan dive in there ahead of all the players. I'm like, wow, Chip actually looks a little bit athletic.
There's always one coach that still thinks he can play or like challenge players to fights. When I was in Denver, we had Keith Millard was one of our defensive line coaches, and Keith Millard played in the NFL for a bunch of years. If you don't know the name, but he was a really good lineman in the NFL for years. And Keith Millard still thought he could play and would actively like try to fight people. Mike Tice was like this. Mike Tice was an NFL tight end.
Mike Tice.
And I had a couple buddies of mine that played in Minnesota that like Mike Tice would actively challenge guys.
It was like the Tom Cable thing too, right? Like
Tom Cable was like slapping guys. Like
there's punching other coaches.
There's always one coach that hasn't been able to give it up and still thinks like he's gonna go out there. Bronco Mendenhall was a coach at BYU for a while, and he would challenge guys to workouts. He was like one of those workout warrior dudes. So always that one old man that still is like, I'm gonna show these young whippersnappers what's up. We get out there and pull my old man sled. Always that one guy.
Well, we got to move. We've got Stockwatch coming up next. What we're buying and selling from the weekend that was. It's next on Primetime 1080 The Fan.
Everyone's talking. Are Isaac and Soup buying it or calling BS and unloading it fast?
Sounds to me like you guys are a couple of bookies.
Is the hype accurate or a bunch of hot gas? Before you buy or sell, listen close.
It's easy to grin when your ship comes in and you've got the stock market beat. But the man worthwhile is the man who can smile when his shorts aren't too tight in the seat.
Primetime Stockwatch is brought to you by 1-800-DIVORCE. When you need to take stock of your rights, 1-800-DIVORCE is on your side. Call 1-800-DIVORCE today.
It is Stockwatch time. We will allow William J. Ortner. What's the middle initial?
P.
William P. Ortner. Patrick?
Yes.
That's my middle name as well. How about that? Will, what do you have for us on the Stockwatch?
This down by the pole. Can you make it 3 straight home runs? Back-to-back Jacks here on the south side.
That was a Victor Robles home run there. You got that from Root Sports Northwest. Buy or sell with the moves the Mariners have made at the MLB trade deadline. They will make the playoffs.
I'll buy that. I think that, I was pretty down on them with the slide that they were having, and they had to do something. I was not confident that DePoto would, but he's been more active than I thought he would be. They've got some real professional hitters that they've added to that roster. Their pitching staff, as we talked to Ryan Divish on Friday, easily one of the best in Major League Baseball, and I think that staff alone gives you a chance. If the offense really does see an uptick from these guys, and I think it should, I think they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think it's a guarantee. The one thing they've had, with the exception of one starter, they've been extremely healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that scares me, is that in Major League Baseball, pitching health, look around. From the Rangers to the Astros, just pitchers don't stay healthy. And the Mariners have been extremely healthy. So as long as the starting pitching doesn't go down and you have a massive injury, I know Wu had the little bout, but outside of that, been very healthy. I think it's a playoff team. Should have been a playoff team last year. It was a playoff team the year before. It's a good roster.
Yeah.
It just can't hit.
It's a solid roster, and now they got a boost, we think.
Yeah, you would think. The two guys you went out and got, one's like an all-time just proven hitter. Justin Turner he's 39 years old, but Justin Turner, I think he's hitting the 250, which probably puts you first or second on the damn Mariners. And then Arozarena, he's a good hitter that's a proven playoff performer. I like what they did. So they're going to be in this with the Astros down to the stretch, but as long as the pitching holds up, I think this is a playoff team.
Well, it's interesting to hear you talk about pressure, to hear him say that word several times, because that's actually what I think he needs to continue playing well under. Literally, I'm speaking, not of the metaphorical pressure, but how good he was when he had pass rushers in his face. And that was really the biggest distinction, Laura, between the first and second halves of the season. The second half of the season, Jordan Love was elite in a number of categories. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But what really stood out to me watching him was his play under pressure.
That's Mina Kimes on ESPN's NFL Live talking about Jordan Love. Jordan Love got paid over the weekend. He's now tied with Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow as the highest paid QBs in the NFL per average annual value. Buy or sell, Love's contract is going to be looked at as a win-win for the Packers and for Love when the contract expires.
That is tough, just because it's such a small sample size.
Yeah.
Now, he was not good at the beginning of the year, far from it. And then he got it pointed in the right direction, and even beat Dallas in the playoffs and looked pretty good against San Francisco to the end, where he kind of had the meltdown. And so there's just such a small sample size, but the contract isn't going to be some albatross. This is just the going rate. It's the richest contract in NFL history, but until the next guy signs, and when the next group of quarterbacks. So as the salary cap comes up, this is not going to be one of those where you look at it and be like, oh my God, look how much money he's making. This is just the nature of the beast. And it's only a couple million more per year than Tua and a handful of those other guys. So I struggle with this one. I like Jordan Love. I think there's a lot of tools to like. I think he has a very good coach. I love the Packers roster. So, yes, I think this will be a win-win because I think he will continue to get better. I am not 100% sold because of the small sample size. That is a lot of money to bet on someone over basically 8 games, including a playoff game against Dallas, who always melts down. But I get why they did it, and so by a hair, I will say this turns out to be a good thing from Green Bay's and Jordan Love's standpoint.
Yeah, I think I'm also with you barely on the buy side here. We were talking before the show about how it seems like the contracts, especially for the stars or the stars of starting positions in the NFL, it's just get in line, wait your turn, and then sign whatever the number is, and then let that thing cycle back around again. And so I don't know that this is necessarily indicative that he's one of the best 3 quarterbacks or anything like that. And I think that just kind of being in line with the schedule, in the long term, I don't think this will hurt the Packers, even if they want to move off of him. It's not going to cost him too much. But like you, I don't know enough or haven't seen enough of Love being really good to know that he's worth it. But I think with what they've seen, you probably had to make this play rather than try to reset on that. So yeah, I'll go with win-win more than it's one of the sides loses, but it's still dicey because of how little we know.
The best thing you have going with Jordan Love is the rest of the roster is babies and on rookie deals. So you got a couple years where the giant contract for Love isn't going to kill you because everyone else is cheap. The problem will come in a couple years when you start signing some of your own talent. And then we've also seen this plenty of times where a guy has a breakout season or a breakout stretch, and we're like, hey, this is the next great thing, and he falls off a map. This is a big year for Jordan Love to prove that this was not an 8-game fluke, because I don't know if we've ever seen someone get paid on a shorter sample than what you're seeing right now from Jordan Love, and he certainly got paid.
Yeah.
Guard to center, and Tua. They lose 5. They're back to 3rd and 15. Here they go. Here they come. And on the move, Tagovailoa throws. It's caught by Berrios in front of Davis. He got the ball. What a catch at the 36.
The other quarterback that got paid over the weekend, I guess he got paid early on Friday, Tua Tagovailoa, buy or sell. The Dolphins will win the AFC East this year.
No, I still think that is. I still think that's the Bills. And by the way, it may be the Jets. I know it's weird. I think they're the 3rd best team. I'm not sold on their defense. Everyone they have coming back as a pass rusher is coming off a major injury. So I'm not sold. They got a lot of money tied up into it. Got a lot of money tied up into receivers, and they're certainly explosive. But I've seen nothing that shows any sort of real guts from Miami, especially when you're dealing with some of the places they're going to have to go play at the end of the year. Think about Buffalo, think about New York, obviously come playoff time when they had to go to Kansas City, and that doesn't necessarily mean winning the division because that was in the playoffs, but I think that division is very, very competitive outside of the Patriots, who are terrible. But if I'm doing power rankings, someone's got to knock off the Bills before I'm ready to say that the Bills are going to roll over simply because they lost some receivers. And the Jets are going to be, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, the Jets are going to be good. So I actually put the Dolphins 3rd. No, I don't think they win that division.
This division for me is probably the toughest one to call in football. I do think there are 3 teams that could potentially win it. I'm not particularly impressed with what the Bills have done to their roster. I feel like they, from a personnel standpoint, may have slipped just a little bit. I'm not convinced that Rodgers, 1, can play healthy, or 2, can get in sync with that team, even though all the parts are there for that to potentially happen. I like the offense that Mike McDaniel runs. I obviously think that offense can carry you a long way in today's NFL. Outside shot, yeah, I'm buying. I think the Dolphins can win the division. I would probably like them to win the division, and not like preference-wise, but I would probably pick them to win the division over the other 3 teams.
1 defeat in their last 31 games. Haran, lovely pass, and the finish to match. Mallory Swanson returning to the international stage.
That's a goal there by Mallory Swanson in the first game of the U.S. women's national team soccer run. Buy or sell what NBC has been able to do with the Peacock, with USA Network, with their own primetime coverage. You are all in on Team USA and the Olympics for the next 2 weeks.
No, I haven't been all in on the Olympics for years. I enjoyed the Olympics. I think they're a fun little distraction. to me, the Olympics have lost a lot of the luster. I mean, it was Mark Cuban came out and just said that the Olympics are now just about making money. Please stop trying to make this a patriotic thing. That's why he said NBA players shouldn't play in it. The purity of the games, yes, like the water polo team, right? They're having to work 3 or 4 jobs, but and so there's an element to that where those women out there for the U.S. water polo team are grinding and trying to win Olympic gold. But for a lot of these people, it's a professional sport. Every 4 years, we're supposed to care about it. My patriotism is supposed to be wrapped around it. It's a lot for me. I enjoy the Olympics. I have nothing against the Olympics, but no country wants to host this anymore because it's billions of dollars that really should go towards other things. It's a huge cash grab for people that are in the construction game. Most of these facilities end up decrepit and
totally defunct.
And totally, just a waste for communities that can't afford it. So I've lost a lot of the shine for me has come off the Olympics. So all in, no. I like rooting for the United States. I can get behind certain stories that get presented to me and can root for individuals, but in general, for me, growing up, the Olympics was a much bigger deal. Like, I remember the Barcelona games in '92, the Olympic triple cast and all that on pay-per-view. I remember being all in on that. And I just think that's left the stable, and I don't think it's ever coming back. I don't think you can really get that feeling because when you watch the Olympics now, yes, winning a gold medal is important, but for those athletes, it's more about winning a gold medal and then getting as many sponsorship deals as you can so that you can support yourself for the rest of your life.
Yeah, support what you've chosen to train for all that time.
Don't fault anyone with that. Make as much money as you can, but don't try to act like somehow because it's an Olympic sport that it's a more noble.
Yeah.
That's the one that kind of bugs me. It's like, well, they're a gymnast, therefore it's pure. No, it's not. Believe me, if every one of those athletes could cash in the way an NFL player, an NBA player
they would do that.
They would do the same thing. It's not more noble. It's just that's what they have to do because no one cares about your sport other than for 2 weeks every 4 years. So it's good. It's fine, but don't call me less patriotic if I'm not out doing laps when our 4 by 100 meter team doesn't win gold or whatever. Stop that.
Yeah, for me, I'll sell it as well. For me, the heyday of the Olympics was the 90s. I don't remember the 92 quite as well. I was 7, but I definitely remember 94, 98, or 94, 96, 98, which I think was Lillehammer, Atlanta, and then Nagano. And then I think we had Salt Lake come up after that. That was a time where we also didn't have the internet spoiling all of the different results for us as well. So I think for me, maybe the biggest barrier, and I wouldn't necessarily be all in from the patriotic standpoint. I like rooting for Team USA. I like rooting for the sports that I like, but everything is so spread out on another continent across the Atlantic that the timing gets kind of wonky. I don't really want to wait until prime time. I get the results early, but then I don't want to watch it, but I don't want to wait to watch it because I know the results are out there. So to me, it ends up being wonderful background noise for 2 weeks. I put it on in the background of everything. Yes. I watched some gymnastics today. I watched some water polo today. Over the weekend, let's see, we caught a little bit more gymnastics, some swimming over the weekend as well. So I like the games. I watched some soccer too, but it doesn't have, like, for me, like you said, it doesn't have the same luster as it used to. I like it, don't love it.
It's a giant cash grab, and I don't like when, me, I don't mind cash grabs as long as you're honest about them. That's all I ever want is honesty out of things, and we got to stop with the purity of the Olympics. It's a giant cash grab. As long as you understand it's a giant cash grab with NBC and Coca-Cola and everything else, then you'll be fine. But stop trying to make it out to be, the pure essence of sports, because it's not.
In a shocking development, we're way behind the clock. Will Ortner has SportsCenter in the news next.
Now,
a tad behind, so we will get right to it. Today is Monday, July 29th, and it is time for In the News. I am your stand-in newsman. Hello. Your regular newsman, scheduled to be back on Tuesday.
See what happens.
See what happens. It is National Lasagna Day.
I like a good lasagna. I never eat lasagna, but I would never poo-poo lasagna, but I never order it.
Yeah, I also never order lasagna, but when I do have it, it's phenomenal. Sometimes I wish I came from Italian heritage just so that I had like an Italian mother making delicious Italian dishes like that all the time. Yeah. You know, the sauces that simmer all day in this kitchen, stuff like that. I really do love a good lasagna.
Nothing against a lasagna. It's just one of those things that I don't encounter it very often.
Well, it is also National Chicken Wing Day.
That
today,
I do encounter.
Known as the birth of the chicken wing.
Do they come out of Buffalo? Is that the whole thing?
The buffalo wing comes out of Buffalo. I don't know about the first chicken wing. It's if that was a buffalo wing or if somebody just ate the wing in something else. But I'm curious, buffalo wing your number one wing, or do you have a different wing that you're a fan of?
Oh, like as far as the flavor?
Because it's like it's chicken wing day, not buffalo wing. So you could have Korean, you could have jerk, you could have
barbecue. Yeah, this is gonna be a controversial statement. The buffalo wing is mid.
Ooh,
like that's
you're
like
not a man of the people.
Dude, that's like 15. that's like 15 down my list. If we're ordering wings, if you go to a place where you're going to Fire on the Mountain, or even if you go to Wingstop, Buffalo, like the generic ones.
Yeah, they all have 25 different choices.
Dude, I am not. Unless someone specifically is like, hey, let's get a buffalo wing. Dude, that is not going anywhere near me. We're going to go with a palm garlic. We're going to go with a Louisiana dry rub. We're going to go with a spicy Korean. A Hawaiian is delicious.
Yeah.
There's just so many. Give me a Chipotle. Give me a Chipotle barbecue. Give me a honey barbecue. Dude, give me a habanero. Give me some real heat going on there. The actual, like, Frank's Red Hot, like, buffalo wing, look, there's nothing wrong with it. If that's what you go, if you go to some greasy spoon bar, a lot of times that's what they have. They just have wings, and that's fine. But when you've expanded my horizons to give me all the options, and you want a buffalo wing, why don't you just order a scoop of chocolate and a scoop of vanilla, you basic bitch?
Just not a man of the people. It's sad to see you fall. It's buffalo chicken wings.
So is that your number one wing, is buffalo?
Of course. I celebrated the holiday today on accident. Didn't even know.
I do like a buffalo wing. Like I like the buffalo flavor.
The blue cheese.
It probably would not be my top. I am more of a ranch guy than a blue cheese guy.
I'm all about it. I can go either way, but given the druthers, it's blue cheese is the superior sauce. Just is.
But I think for me, probably number one is a Korean wing, like the crispy, sweet, sticky, kind of what the pak wing used to be.
Throw some sesame seeds on that bad boy.
Absolutely. Maybe even a little green onion on there.
To be honest, the Asians know what they're doing in the kitchen.
They know their way around a wing. That's
they
for
know
sure.
their
Support
way
this
around
country.
a wing.
And then I would also take a Nashville hot chicken wing, the kind where you get the hot oil underneath the breading.
Yes.
Like that's a really good wing.
If you a nice hot honey, like you do that too with a hot honey sauce on it. Now, I have recently discovered that like you can just buy the hot honey sauce. I put it on everything. It's just I'm going through like 3 of those a month. I'll put that on anything. Made a lamb gyro the other day with some hot honey sauce on it. Let's go.
Okay. Well, let's get to some actual news. Other hot news, unfortunately, fire news. Things are bad up here in the Northwest right now.
We're getting all burnt up.
I guess we are using about half of the country's national fire support resources right now. We have 55 large fires in the Northwest, 11 in Washington, 44 uncontained in Oregon. They've now gotten the help of the National Guard. There are about 12,000 active firefighters and support personnel who are working on this issue right now, but it's ugly, and hopefully the rain's helping a little bit.
Are we getting rains across the state?
I don't know that we are. I think that's the problem right now.
I doubt it in the East. The East, it never rains even in raining season.
And so on that note, also wanted to bring up that if it weren't for the weather, we would be able to see the Aurora Borealis here in Portland again, but despite the fact it should be visible Monday through Wednesday, we're going to get too much rain and too much clouds. They're saying you got to get east of the Cascades to be able to see it. So
I know that I'm. This is so far outside of my realm of expertise. I'm just asking, is there anything we can do? I swear to God, every year, we burn to the ground. Is there nothing? We have no options. We can't do anything.
It feels like a flip switched about 6 or 7 years ago, and now we can't avoid a summer without this being really horrendous.
No,
and I don't know what the
West
answer
in
is.
Canada, we burn to the ground, and I just and I don't know. Again, I'm not going to get into the whole climate change or whatever. It just feels like this is now commonplace. Like you said, every summer it's like, well, here we go. We're going to burn everything up again.
We've now eclipsed over 1 million acres burned.
I don't know what you do on the east side of the Cascades, at least for like Oregon and Washington, just because it's such a different climate. Like over here, I'm sure like if it's a rainier year, you're going to be okay. But over there, it doesn't rain nearly as much.
No, you just
and
drive,
so it's dry.
When you drive through Eastern Oregon, you're driving down to Redmond or Bend or wherever, and you just look out, just the entire landscape is just one big tinderbox. And maybe we just have too many people, and it's just a matter of time where we burn everything up. If only we would rake Central Oregon. That's all we gotta do is just rake Central Oregon and we'll be fine. I mean, it's just. I feel bad for everyone out there because it just year after year after year, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
A fencing foil and a samurai sword. Weapon news is next in the news.
This is the Fans' window into sports.
Monday, July 29th. Just a couple more stories to get to. Have you ever wanted to try your hand at fencing and not building a barrier between your neighbors' yards, but the sport of fencing?
I can't say I ever have. I mean, when I was a kid, I watched Highlander a lot, but that's not really fencing.
There's a fencing studio by my parents' house.
Is that right? There's a fencing studio in Beaverton by the Hillsdale Highway. I don't know. To me, it's always been one of the oddest sports, and I've had never any desire to try it. I mean, I've wanted to like fight my brother with a sword when I was like a little kid, but nothing beyond that.
Do some samurai stuff. Let's go.
But if fencing is your thing, or you just want to know a little bit more about it, Fencing Across America, in celebration of the Olympics, is picking 16 spots across the country to hold fencing tutorials all week, and it includes Portland's Director Park. So if you go down there from 2 to 7 any day between now and Sunday, you can get a fencing tutorial.
All right. Well, look, I'm not against. Like, if I was, where is this at?
Director Park.
I don't know where that's at.
I don't either.
It's right next to Producer Park.
If I happen to be walking through studio, TV there by the producers, and someone was like, hey, do you want to learn how to fence? And I had a half hour to kill. Maybe
sure, give me the foil.
Yeah, whatever. I'll check this out. But would I ever actually seek out? Like, no offense to fencing. It's kind of the lamest of the sword fights.
Yeah.
Like,
you want a real duel is what you want.
Yeah, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you had one of those, I'm sure you could kill. You stab me in the eye with it. Like, I put out an eye, you wear the little thing. But look, let's be honest. It's not like, it's not that cool.
It's like the hit and run sword fighting. Like, you're trying to tap and then get away. Like, you're not like engaging in combat as much as like you're doing a dance kind of.
Yeah. Like, if you told me there was like a Viking axe like a battle, now let's go. Or like when I was in Scotland, like, you got a big Scottish claymore and we're going to run around and like swing those, maybe a warhammer or something. Certainly the katana is the hierarchy of all swords. Everyone wants to be a Ronin out there doing cool ninja stuff. Like the fencing thing, it's French. It's kind of down the ladder a little bit. I got to wear that cowardly helmet, and I'm wearing like a unitard thing. It's like I'm from the future.
You have to wear a cup.
Yeah, it's just it's just not that. It's not that cool.
But a beekeeper.
Exactly, you're like a beekeeper with like a little foil in your hand, and the thing bends a lot. I need more.
You don't want any bend on your sword, huh?
Nah. We need more.
It's gotta be stiff.
We need more stabby. We need. It's just. Like, overall, I give it 2 thumbs. Man, but if that's your thing, hey, it's badass. And yes, I'm not one of these idiots. It's like, dude, give me a sword. Dude, I'd get lit up 1,000,000 times over, but I don't care because I think your sport's kind of lame. But if that's what you love to do, more power to you, man. You do you, boo.
No indication whether this was technically a katana or not, but we do have samurai sword news.
Now we're going.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's. I'm seeing 2 different stories on this. One says Beaverton, one says Tualatin, but you get the idea. Somewhere on TV Highway, there was a man who was arrested after breaking into a car and then pulling a samurai sword on its owner when they confronted him.
Right.
This happened around 3:18 a.m. on Saturday morning. And witnesses called the police after that. It only took the K-9 unit 10 minutes to find the person who had fled after pulling the sword on the owner of the car.
Because it was the only person running down the street with a sword?
Probably.
Can you get in trouble? Like, I know you can get in trouble for pulling a gun on someone. Can you get in trouble for pulling a sword on
I would think
someone?
that's still brandishing a weapon. So, like, that's very much, that's going to be a no-go.
By the way, I'm not certain, like, if you're breaking into something, like, how terrifying is it? Like, if someone pulls like a sword on you, you got 2 trains of thoughts. Either like, oh, F, this guy's been waiting for this moment his whole life.
Or this idiot thinks a sword is the best for this situation.
Yeah, I got this Dunkoft over here. Like, this nerd is thinking, I'm not sure which is more terrifying. Like, someone that like, I don't know, like the gun obviously is the scary one. You're like, oh, this guy's got a gun. But the sword could be the most terrifying or the most like just laughable thing that you could ever have pulled on you.
Now, I know very little about the assailant or the alleged robber, but they did post this photo of the goods that recovered. I like his hat that just says money with dollar bills on the bill.
Oh,
that was recovered at the scene with as well as some sunglasses and a paper bag with some.
Plus, I assume that samurai sword was bought off like QVC, like in the middle of the night.
I was thinking pawn shop.
Yeah, like 1999, and that thing's gonna break the moment you swing it. But I do, and I've never actually used it for home defense. But it does sit.
Sword.
No, it does sit on my desk for my birthday a couple years ago. The missus got me a full on, fully functioning, razor sharp, balanced. She gave me a Viking war axe. And it does sit on my desk. It sits on the front of my desk, which is like when you walk into my house, like you just look over and there's my little office. So
your sword.
So technically speaking, if I heard someone coming into the house, on my way down to confront someone, and like I've chopped wood with this thing, you can throw it into a tree. I mean,
it'll do the trick.
It would do the trick. You may get me coming down the stairs in some undies, possibly naked if you caught me off guard, and I would be grabbing for the fully functioning Viking axe as you came through the front door.
I've never seen so much dong in my life.
I want nothing more than someone to break into your house and there's a news story where you are fully nude with an axe taking out some would-be robber. It would be fantastic.
I've never thought about it, but it does sit on my desk, and it would be like, that would be the first thing outside of my gun, which would be upstairs. The scariest thing I have in my house would be to grab that it's a big ass Viking war axe.
That is scarier than grabbing the gun. You meeting a would-be robber naked with your battle axe is definitely scarier than whatever gun you have.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if some dude pulls a sword on you and he gets in a stance like he knows what he's doing,
it indicates a level of crazy you weren't ready for.
Right? Like, that's the sort of guy that, again, he's been training for this for like 30 years, and he's just like, please. And now you're giving him an opportunity to live out his weird Tom Cruise Last Samurai thing, and I'm like, I want nothing to do with that. Nothing at all.
It's the guy who stretches before a fight. Yes. Like, if you're getting ready to get into it with someone and he just puts his fists up, it's like, all right, I'm okay. But the guy that starts doing like toe touches and Frankenstein,
or the guy that takes off the shirt, removes all the things, and is like, I'm gonna, takes off the shoes,
does the Bruce Lee thing and starts stretching, and you're like,
starts hopping around.
You're like,
time to rethink this one. All right, boys, sorry, you know what, my bad. I got a thing.
You see him take a deep breath and center themselves right before you're like, oh god, I'm getting rocked here.
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave right now. He's got cauliflower ear. Like, no.
That's all the time we have for In the News on Monday, July 29th. The Hot 5 at 5 is coming up next. 1080 The Fan.
At Odyssey.
Here with you. A thought coming in on the Vancouver Ford text line says, sword guy will garner Indiana Jones reactions from me. Just pull out the pistol and shoot him dead in front of you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you're using like a crossbow, sword, Chinese throwing stars, realize the guy on the other end of that, like when you pull out your sword, there's a chance that guy's got a gun. No offense, like I've been studying all my life in the ancient Chinese art of sword fighting. Yeah, that dude bought a Smith & Wesson for like $199 on the on Gun Trader, and that dude's gonna blow a hole through you. So just be careful. Stop getting in confrontation. Stop trying to kill one another. It's just, traffic. It's not worth it.
But invoking the Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark, they're talking about the scene where he's going through like the chase through the street markets and whatnot, and a dude pulls out the big gun or sword, brandishes it, and Indy just pulls out the gun and shoots him.
Do you know why that came to be?
Yes, that's where I was going with this. It's one of those fun little Hollywood blooper Easter egg type facts. The way I've heard it is Harrison Ford was like really sick that day.
He had diarrhea. He had really because they were shooting it on location, and he had really, really bad diarrhea, and he kept kept having to run and take care of business.
So he's doing this scene where they're like running through the streets and everything, and this dude across from him, dressed in all black with his huge Middle Eastern sword, is like waving it all around, and he has this grimace on his face that looks like he's gonna have the squirts again, and he just pulls out the prop gun and shoots him anyways. Director just kept it in. They were supposed to have an elaborate fight scene. He was not up for it that day.
Yeah, and he just said, "What if I just did like an indie thing and kind of smirked at the guy and just shoot him?"
Yeah, and go back and watch that movie and look at his face. He is legitimately sick when he pulls the trigger instead of doing the sword fight.
I love when there's little things like that in movies that like the Dustin Hoffman. I'm walking here. Again, that's a real New York City cab, and they just kept.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's a real that guy wasn't supposed to be there. There was a cab that kind of came through the closed set, and Dustin Hoffman stays in character and hits the hood of the car and is like, I'm walking here, and it ends up being a lot of iconic moments. The all right, Matthew McConaughey, not in the script.
Really?
Nope. McConaughey was that was his first, even though it's not the first time you see him on camera. That was the first scene he ever shot. That was the first movie he'd ever done.
Wow.
And that was the first scene. And McConaughey is like, he's got a thing. They tell him, hey, they're kind of ad-libbing. And they tell him, hey, you're just going to approach these people. What are you, you roll up in the car. Mm-hmm. And McConaughey said in his head, he was thinking, what is this guy all about? And he said, he's about drugs, chicks, and rock and roll. And he said that was in his mind. Mm-hmm. And he thought to all three of those things, all right. And he said,
you just gotta keep living, man.
He said in that moment when he pulled up and they yelled action, that was what popped through his mind was all right.
I love that.
And that's where it came from. And the director just loved it. And they cut it and they were like, all right, this is Wooderson.
Another important question from the Vancouver Ford text line. What's scarier in the hands of an attacker? A sword, a crossbow, or a flamethrower?
Dude, flamethrower.
I think so too.
You kidding me?
But then go sword, crossbow. What's scarier?
Again, crossbow. You could
projectile.
Projectile, though, the crossbow, you only got one shot. So as long as that guy misses you, then you got nothing.
Can you not reload those fast? Do they not reload easy?
So. Okay. I think you shoot once and then you're fine.
Then you gotta wind it up again or something.
Yeah, I think I'm going. If I have to face it, I think I'm going. I think I'm taking the crossbow. I'm running the risk that dude isn't going to kill me with one shot.
Dodge one, and that's enough all the time you need.
If some dude's got a sword and I got bubkiss, what the hell am I going to do? Yeah, I think you got to take the crossbow. I think the flamethrower's right. Flamethrower's right out. I've seen the 14 Fists of McCluskey. I know what happens when you get a flamethrower. That's your ass, Mr. Postman.
Did your boy Alonzo just go yard?
That's right. The polar bear. 1-1.
Anytime home run bet plus 400. Let's go! It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
Oh. Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victorricos.com. Number 5.
Start with a little bit of Olympic news, but this may be even bigger than the match they played today. Nikola Jokic. No, Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal faced off at Roland Garros on the clay today. Going into that match, Nadal had the head-to-head edge 30-29. Djokovic evens that today with a win in straight sets, and it's likely the last time either of them play each other, so it'll probably end their rivalry at dead even.
Yeah. If you're a fan of tennis, how cool is it that you got this era of tennis where you went from Roger Federer maybe being the greatest of all time to Nadal maybe being the greatest of all time, and really there isn't much of an argument anymore. What you're seeing with Joker is the greatest of all time. I mean, it is... for all the romanticism about the 70s and 80s, that's the greatest run of tennis we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's the other thing, too, is Nadal's not done yet. He's actually going to pair up with one of the best in the world, Carlos Alvarez or Alcaraz. They're playing together in the doubles. Number 4, some NFL notes. A couple things going on in the league today. Danico Autry suspended for 6 games for PED use. He's a D lineman for the Texans. The 49ers activate Ricky Pearsall, their first-round draft pick, off of the PUP list. Also got a new contract out in Detroit for Taylor Decker. But everyone's in camp, and we're getting football this week.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the only ones that we know, CeeDee Lamb's still holding out, right? Which is just, I don't know, if you're Dallas, what the hell are you doing? Like, do you think CeeDee Lamb's is going to come back and play without a new
discount
deal
or something? Yeah.
So we got CeeDee Lamb is not in camp, and I think we got Reddick that's still holding out.
Hassan Reddick.
Other than that, I think not only is everyone in camp from a team standpoint, but I think at this point, most of the players, we don't have many holdouts anymore. And then, like you said, Hall of Fame game this weekend. Let's go. Although it doesn't sound like Caleb Williams is going to play.
That's why we get Secret Bajan Man, baby. Let's go. Wonder if he can burpee broad jump his way into the end zone.
Dude, burpee broad jumped a mile for one of his workouts this offseason.
And it took him an hour and 7 minutes.
Good Lord.
He'd be dead. Let's talk a little Olympics, specifically Olympic basketball. The Dream Team, or the USA men's team, got their first real test against Serbia. There were some questions because of the close games they were playing in exhibition against teams like South Sudan, Germany, Australia. But they rolled the Serbs that had probably their toughest competition in their group. They win by 26 points. They play 10 different guys, and LeBron looks like the best on the floor. Meanwhile, the women's team, they're going for their 8th straight gold medal, and they absolutely rolled.
I think they won 56 straight Olympic games,
it's
the U.S. women.
Absurd like that.
So, every now and then, you get a team that's just so far ahead of the competition. And that was us, in 92 in Barcelona, and the world is caught up. The rest of the world will catch up. But, dude, our women's basketball team is so much better than anyone else. Number two. By the way, Sabrina, I think she went for 11-5 today in her. That was her Olympic debut. I think I saw.
Nice. Yeah, she. I believe it is her Olympic debut, and I didn't see her line score, but
I saw it come across Twitter, and it was cool to see her in the Olympic uniform. Yeah, I think she went 11-5, although it didn't really matter. I mean, they beat Japan by whatever it was. 20 plus.
Little baseball news and scoreboard watching. The Mariners are in action right now, coming off a sweep of the White Sox, and things were going okay until they got to Boston. They are down 7-0.
I think the White Sox have lost 14 in a row.
14 in a row. That is accurate.
I mean, good grief.
And Boston has been hot. They've been catching up with the New York Yankees, and so they're putting it on them right now, 7-0. And in a bit of a surprise, Logan Gilbert getting shelled today. He gave up 7 earned in 2 2/3. He's been really good for them. Not so much today.
Still tied, by the way, the Mariners and the Astros. And the Astros just underway. They got the Pirates, and I think Skeens is pitching today.
It is Paul Skeens Day in the MLB.
And that's just underway. I think it's top of the one. So.
Number one.
And number one, the trade deadline fast approaching in Major League Baseball. We've already talked about how the Mariners have been big players. They've acquired Randy Arozarena. They got Yimi Garcia for some bullpen help. They've also now acquired Justin Turner, professional hitter. But there's a bunch of teams that have been making deals. We saw Zach Eflin move over to the Orioles. It sounds like Blake Snell may still be available as the top top player on the market as the Giants appear to be sellers. There's some talk that the Yankees could be in on him.
The Mets got Jesse Winker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I meant to bring that up. I knew how much you wanted that.
I just conveniently you forget that Mariner great, the Winker, Jesse Winker, now playing in Queens.
The guy who once ordered a pizza from the clubhouse in Anaheim from Papa Murphy's, right?
Yeah. But Justin Turner, I know Justin Turner is 39 years old, but he's hitting 250 this year. Dude, that guy's a professional bat. And considering what you had in Seattle, dude, Justin Turner, you can do a lot better, or you can do a lot worse than having Justin Turner in your lineup.
Pretty clutch guy.
At least the Mariners are trying something. I know it's not Vlad, which, some people were hoping for, but.
And there's, trade deadline is tomorrow, so there is still some hope. I've seen some rumblings out there that the Mariners do have pieces that the Jays want, and that might be the only trade partner left for the Jays and Vlad. It seems like in the 11th hour, probably unlikely at this point, but not out of the question.
You go get Vlad Guerrero and you throw him in the middle of that lineup, and look, you got to be happy with what they've done. But going to get Vlad and actually having to give up, 3 or 4 of your best prospects to go out and get him, and maybe an arm, that would signal something to the city of Seattle that you're pushing your chips in the middle and you're going all in.
By the way, former Mariner Ty France has a new home. He's a Cincinnati Red after they outrighted him on waivers and they completed a trade to bring back a minor league catcher. The Hot 5 at 5 is brought to you every day by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, home of the best burrito in Oregon. You can always visit them online at victorricos.com. Coming up, an Olympic roundup, more on Team USA, some volleyball, archery, gymnastics, badminton, table tennis. We've got it all coming up on Primetime, 1080 The Fan.
That's one draft down.
The Portland
Like I started so young, and my kids are old. So I'm like, how old are you?
I'm 39.
You're 39. So not, we're 6 years apart. But I have a daughter that's 27.
Right, and I have a son who's 3.
And my youngest is 19. So it's like it's weird. Like you'll bring up like potty training stuff, and I have to like scroll back in my memory. And I don't know if it makes me a terrible parent. I just don't remember a lot of those. Like I kind of sort of remember like what that was all about, but I don't remember the details. Like I don't remember my kids' first steps, or like it's just it's all faded from my memory. It all just kind of blends together a little bit, and
Could
I'm
be
like,
the CTE.
It's possible. That I always tell parents that because again, a lot of my friends have younger kids, or I'm around a lot of young parents, and I'm like, dude, wait until you've raised 2 or 3 kids and you're 15 to 20 years removed from that, and tell me how sharp your memory is. It's easy to remember potty training when you're going through it like a year ago.
And I don't expect you to remember, but I'm like, dude, did you go through this? And you're like, maybe, I don't know, probably.
It's my answer. Like the older I get, I'm open to the idea that everything I remember is wrong, and that everything I remember is right. Like it's all shades of gray. Like, did you have an easy time, hard time potty training? I'm like, I think it was easy.
We made it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. I made it to this. Eventually they stopped going in their pants and everything was fine. Like you work it out. Like, eventually you'll come out the other side and you'll be fine.
Let's get back to a little Olympic basketball here. I did watch most of that Team USA game against Serbia. I was not concerned that they wouldn't be able to have it all come together, but they looked a little rusty and rough around the edges in some of their exhibitions. But they go out.
You're squeaking by South Sudan, and
they were trailing by 13 to South Sudan.
And then Germany, I think, gave them fits.
Yeah, they lost. They won by 4 to Germany in a game that was close the whole way.
That's no good.
But they go and play the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic, and Serbia actually jumped out to a 10-2 lead on those guys, and then LeBron still, like, you can say whatever you want about what he might do or not do in the offseason. That guy still, at the age of 40, has the ability to turn it on anytime he wants.
And KD
it's just
too.
KD too.
I think in the first half
he'd been out with an ankle, and those guys
they combined like 19 of 19, something stupid.
KD went 8 of 8 and had 21 points in the first half.
Yeah. And LeBron was perfect too. I don't
Off
remember.
the bench.
I don't remember how many field goals they had together, but they were perfect from the field. And it does say something that your best player is old ass LeBron James. Like I will always be a Jordan guy. Again, I just in their primes, I just think Michael was a better player. But there is no doubt that what we're seeing out of LeBron at his age, you can't deny. If you think for 1 second, look at Jordan when he was in his late 30s. He was kind of fat, and when he came back with the Wizards, and he wasn't 40 when he came back. I think that was like when he was in his late 30s. What LeBron James is doing, with the exception of Barry Bonds, who and maybe Tom,
also had some help.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people think LeBron's got some help too.
He has good trainers. What are you talking about? Don't sully the game.
Why is that such a weird? Like, why is that such a weird off-limits topic for people? You really think LeBron James, at his age, in doing this for the amount of time and the minutes, is because he
100% naturally?
Everyone at 40 has a 6-pack. What are you talking about?
Dude.
You just got to work hard, eat your chicken,
I turned 40
take
in
your
February.
vitamins.
I'm looking forward to that 6-pack.
I listened to Hulk Hogan. He'll be fine.
Whatever LeBron's doing, it works. So it's Tom Brady, LeBron James, and Barry Bonds. The longevity is stupid. So that's the one thing I'll say over like that Michael did not have on LeBron is the longevity thing is just it's silly. At his age, to be the best player on the best team in the world at the Olympics, and that picture that he had, like the after dunk thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
what? That's just and LeBron's like reposting that, and he's gonna have like a giant oil painting made of that, and he should. That's like whether you love him or not. It was like the Trump like flag earshot photo. Whether you love him or hate him, I'm sorry, dude. That picture is like incredible.
It's badass.
It was the same thing with that LeBron James. I saw that photo and was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like if you're a LeBron James fan, it moved, it wiggled a little bit after that.
So additionally, though, I would say the biggest storyline that came out of that game was not that LeBron still got it or that they shook off the rust and they rolled Serbia, but the Steve Kerr rotation. Because
he didn't play
if you recall, Kawhi Leonard was replaced on this team by Derek White.
Yeah.
Already on this team was Celtics sidekick Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
as well as Celtics star Jason Tatum. Two guys did not get off the bench in this win. 40 minutes, 26 points win over Serbia. Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton, who someone pointed out, probably the two best players in the Eastern Conference Finals this year. And whether or not that's because the other stars weren't on teams good enough to get there, it's a little bit wild to think that Jason Tatum can't get a series or a set or 4 minutes on the floor in a blowout victory. There are conspiracy theorists out there. There are people saying that Steve Kerr is trying to mess with the Celtics mojo and what they have going on. I'm not buying into any of that, but I was a little surprised. Kerr's even gone as far as to say, like, I expect Jason will be in going to play more in the next game. It's just kind of how this one went. But Kerr claimed I can't play more than 10 guys in 40 minutes, which I don't totally understand. And even if that was the case, I was surprised Jason Tatum was not one of those 10.
Yeah, so, I mean, the guy for the last 3 years has been first team All-NBA.
Yeah.
And he just won an NBA championship.
Nearly won Finals MVP. Finished second in Finals MVP.
And Drew Holiday played 24 minutes, and the one that's weird is, and I get they play different positions, but Derek White played.
He just showed up.
Derek White played 16 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I guess I wasn't watching the whole thing. I was kind of flipping around, and I was like, oh, and it looked like they were. When I first saw it, I was woke up and I saw on Twitter that Kevin Durant was like killing it. Mm-hmm. So I flipped over to it, and then in the second half they were comfortable, and I didn't watch any of it. So I didn't find out about it until I saw a Steve Kerr thing saying that Steve Kerr said he was dumb for not playing Jason Tatum, and I was like, they didn't play Jason Tatum? And then I was like, oh, well, they probably didn't play a bunch of guys. No, they just didn't play Halliburton and Jason Tatum. And I was like, Derek White? And then I thought to myself, well, Derek White probably played like 3 minutes. No. Derek White played 16 minutes. I don't know. It's just it's an odd thing. But I heard an interview with Kerr where he said he told Tatum
that was going to be the case
before the game that because of matchups and because of rotations, which is still weird. I know that, again, it's different positions, but like what rotation don't you have room for the first team All-NBA 3 years in a row?
Kerr's weird about this, and Warriors fans know this too well. As they got past the big core of Curry, Thompson, Durant, and Draymond, and had to start bringing some youth in, he has not figured out how to get those guys on the floor together at the right time. I don't know if it's that he doesn't like pairing certain guys together or he wants them all to have certain complementary skills, but it's been something that's been frustrating and a headache for Warriors fans recently as they've seen some roster turnover, and it's a little bit surprising to me that with this collection of talent, you can't like make it work for 4 minutes in garbage time.
Could it also have been like Kevin Durant was so unreal and LeBron was so unreal?
Possible.
That with those two performing the way that they did in the same spot as Tatum, he's like, you know what? I'm just not going to take them out. I want them on the floor.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I mean, Durant didn't play in the exhibitions leading up to this because he was dealing with an ankle.
I mean, but Durant only played 17 minutes, and and they're 40-minute games, so they're trimmed
shorter.
Down. They're shorter games. Like, I do find that a little weird that like the U.S. is going for gold again. They didn't look good in the lead up to this, and they blew them out 84-110. Supposedly their toughest competition, and yet we're nitpicking about like the story is whether Jason Tatum played or not. I mean, if I'm Steve Kerr, there's a little bit of like, do you see the score? Like it's
and also I don't want to be the guy that's like stumping for everybody should get a turn. Like this is the Olympics. It's not the participation trophy.
It's just odd that a guy who's first team All-NBA doesn't get in. But it's the same it's like someone in the UFC goes and bludgeons a guy for like five rounds, beats the living hell out of him, and then people are upset at the way he did it. You're like, dude, I just whooped that guy's ass. Yeah, but we wanted to. I don't know. You won 110-84. And I get, give credit to Jason Tatum. I haven't heard him say a peep about it because, there are some guys that would not handle this well. There are absolutely some guys that would melt down over being, and
they'd sound off. They'd talk to the media.
Yes.
They'd cause some dissension within the team before they even get out of the group stage. Yeah, there's guys that wouldn't
and
wear
guys
this well.
that aren't for three-time first-team All-NBA players and just won an NBA title. Look, this makes me like, and I'm not a big Celtics guy. Outside of the Celtics of the balls, I don't really care for Boston. I find their fans to be atrocious. It's like being
the Celtics of the balls.
But this makes me like Jason Tatum so much better that you have not heard squat from Jason Tatum because he has every right, and I mean every right, to be like, are you effing kidding me? You're playing Derek White? You're playing Derek White,
the guy who was the replacement for the guy who got bumped.
I'm first team All-NBA, and I just won an NBA championship. He has every right to do that, and he's not. He's not saying anything. He's treating himself like he's Derek White or like he's Halliburton. And tip of my cap. This, kudos to you, Jason Tatum.
Well, that's always been his MO, but I do think that the guy who's going to have to sit down next, because Joel Embiid was horrific.
He was the only player
on the court.
People joked that Jason Tatum had a better plus-minus than Embiid because Embiid was so bad that in a 26-point win, he had a negative plus-minus.
And I think that you're going to see Joel Embiid get played less and less, especially as you go up against these teams. Like, he just doesn't play the same style that the rest of these Olympians play. Like, they want to run up and down the court on Team USA. He is a guy who will mouth off because he's already mouthed off about how old the team is and how it should be guys like him and Ant Edwards taking over because they're the quote-unquote young guys. They're the future. And I really do think that you might run into a spot where they can't even get Joel on the court.
We did have one other storyline coming out of Team USA. We will get to that coming up next. Could a Team USA player take a single point off of the U.S. ping pong team? And additionally, how France lost $1.5 billion in one crap storm. But first, Will with the Sports Center. I haven't seen before, but kind of want to try.
No, you don't.
Nah, I know I don't, but it looked cool, and sometimes I get mad back there. We discussed that road rage a little bit last week, and man, I saw something today. I was like, even though that guy's a jerk, that was awesome.
I just think about getting shot. Anytime I get mad in traffic,
yeah,
I think of all the videos out there of just people just getting shot over someone cutting them off, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Or just put like a bunch of gun stickers on your car, because I think that solves a lot of road rage too. If someone cuts you off and you see like there's like a Glock sticker on there, Smith & Wesson, Oregonian, bunch of AR-15 stuff, you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and back off that one right now. I don't need to be in this confrontation right now.
And I'm enough of a dumbass that I do the thing where like I won't just flip the bird to anybody or holler at anybody, but I'll take a look at who's behind the wheel first, and I'll make a decision as if that could possibly eliminate them from having a gun or not. Like I literally judge the book by its cover, and I go, F you.
It's actually more alarming if it is some weird looking skinny dude. You're like, why is that guy so confident? You're like, oh yeah. Yeah, old was it Sam Colt made all men equal. God made man, Sam Colt made them all equal.
So that's in the club, as well as if there's any flight in this country that gets grounded or diverted, we have to talk about it. Another biohazard, and this time we have some audio. But first, we need to get back into Team USA basketball, kind of. The claim from Anthony Edwards. Well, we'll play the audio for you, but Anthony Edwards, the a star on the men's basketball team, was catching some table tennis earlier in the tournament. Early in the Olympics. I had not seen this video. Dude was hyped at the ping pong games.
He was watching the women's, and I don't remember who was playing. One of them was an Asian gal, and I don't know who she was playing against, but there's a viral clip going around where, dude, they're just like, the Olympic table tennis is crazy.
It's insane.
I don't know how
most Olympic racket sports, actually. Badminton, too, is kind of wild.
I'm just like, you're like, oh my gosh, it's Forrest Gump style. And Edwards is in the fifth row, standing up, going freaking nuts over women's ping pong.
Yeah, so that then led us to the opening ceremonies, where all of Team USA was sharing one of those boats floating down the Seine River. Yeah. And the U.S. table tennis team also on that boat. Yeah. And so Steph Curry tried to poke the bear a little bit and get Anthony Edwards to toot his own horn, so to speak. Yeah.
And what, ping pong? I got some people talking about they're going to beat me in ping pong 21-0. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm not having it. 11-0. I'm scoring 1 point. 1 point. I'm scoring. What? Okay. How? When are we going to do that? Whenever.
And yes, that match he was watching was one of the gals. The Asian gal was for Team USA.
Yeah.
And then she was playing, looks like someone from, I don't know, I can't recognize the flag.
Was it the Lebanon lady?
It's tough. It's so small in the corner, I can't really make it out. But yeah, the video of Anthony Edwards like going down the boat, he is there with the women's
and he's sizing him up.
Yeah, he's looking at him. He's like, let's go.
I got to win 1 point. Yeah, I could do that. And so this gets into our how confident professional and world-class athletes are at their ability to do anything. And even brings us full circle to one Will Ortner thinking that he could take a punch from Mike Tyson just cuz.
That take looks better and better every single day.
Yes,
it does. He keeps going to the hospital every 6 months.
There is no greater bravado than that of the 20-something American male. And I'm not sure which is greater. The bravado of a world-class athlete like Anthony Edwards, or just the average 25-year-old moron. I'm not sure which one.
26.
Yeah, 26. Because at least Anthony Edwards is a world-class athlete, and yet the idea that you could do anything against one of these gals in ping pong. But at the same time, it's always the 24-year-old guys like, dude, I'll just go into a rage. It's like, yeah, you don't even want to know. Like, well, I'll go into a different world and I'll be fine. Yeah, I may lose, but I'll fight whoever. Yeah, you don't know. You don't know. You haven't seen me. I'm not sure which one is a bigger moron, but I want the highlight of my Olympics will be if one of those gals from the U.S. team actually plays Anthony Edwards in a game of ping pong.
Because it will be 11-0 or it'll be 21-0.
I would watch that more than anything else. If you told me, and Simone Biles or I'm really into Olympic rugby right now. If you told me I could only watch one thing for the rest of the Olympics, I would watch one of these gals. And by the way, they're all Asian. They're all these tiny little Asian gals for Team USA. I would watch any one of those take on Anthony Edwards over anything else. And it would be amazing to watch his pride just crumble.
Do you think
as he goes to his knees?
Any chance he could get 1 point?
No.
I would agree with you.
I don't think he would return a serve, to be honest with you.
I think you're probably
right. Not. But I also have a theory on this one, and I think some others on X do as well. I think that this is all a bit to get some numbers.
I wouldn't be surprised at that either, but I also think that Anthony Edwards is confident enough it could be both. I think I think we got a little, I'll call him A, a little column B.
He did say he could hit an MLB baseball, and they're like, "When's the last time you played baseball?" And he's like, 3rd grade.
Yeah, that's what
we're talking about.
Exactly. That's that guy. So I'm not sure. Like Will Darkin's thinking that he could fight a hippo. We've got Will Ortner thinking that he could fight Mike Tyson.
That is not what I said. Don't twist. Do not twist. I could take a punch.
God,
I could take a punch. You're trying to twist. This is Sukanian logic.
This is my favorite part about this argument right here. Much like Anthony Edwards, has not swung a bat since the 3rd grade. Will, have you ever been punched in the face?
Every person who's tried has missed because I've dodged them.
So the answer to that question is no.
I've been kneed in the face.
That sort of logic. Yeah, I've never been hit before, but I'm pretty sure I could take a punch from Mike Tyson. That's the sort of bravado that I absolutely love. And I wish we'd have more. And I know you can't do it, but remember they used to have that show, Pros versus Joes?
Yeah, great show.
But that was like old, washed up guys. Like, it would be hilarious to watch dumbasses like actually get to compete. It's why I said the Olympics should always have one average dude in there doing it so that you get to see how good these people really are.
I love that idea. Additionally, it's time for the poop-filled Willamette to step aside because the poop-filled Seine has taken its place. Yes. One thing you won't be seeing this Olympics is the triathlon in the Seine.
You're gone.
Because after France spent $1.5 billion, billion with a B, to clean up that river so that they could have athletes swim in it for the games, there was so much rain on the morning or on the evening of the opening ceremonies that fecal matter and other sewage flowed into the river anyways, essentially burning the $1.5 million they spent.
Not million.
Billion to make it like E. coli free.
And this is why the Olympics to me is a bit much. How much money did they spend on these games? I mean, I think it was like Russia spent 30-something billion and it all just got stolen anyways and funneled into different people's pockets. But you got like poor countries like Greece and Brazil that spend tens of billions of dollars and it's all for 2 weeks. And then as soon as everyone leaves, like all those things that you build just become decrepit. It's just you spent $1.5 billion of the people's money to clean something up. And now it's all for naught. Remember when Japan was doing the games? They were going into the Fukushima where the power plant was. And they spent several billions of dollars trying to radiate.
Like eliminate radiation.
Eliminate radiation, which, by the way, doesn't work.
Can't really do.
But they were like, well, we want the Olympics. They were going to try to house athletes there. They're like, yeah, we're just going to bring in new dirt. So same thing. They spent billions of dollars bringing in new dirt and all this stuff. And then like the wind just blew the trees and like all the radioactive matter just blew onto all the new dirt. Can we just... As cool as the Olympics are, can we stop stealing billions of dollars from people that could actually use it so that we can put on 2 weeks worth of games, which, by the way, sometimes you can't even do because there's poop in the river anyways.
Yeah. $9.5 billion is the total bill on these Paris Olympics so far. It's estimated that cost will reach $10.8 billion by the end of the games.
And $1.5 billion of that was spent to clean up a poop-filled river that
they can't use anyways.
Which, by the way, the best part I've seen in the Olympics so far is that medal performance in the opening ceremony. Dude, that thing was
dude,
fire.
Hard medal at like whatever palace that was.
Dude, wherever they were filming that thing, I don't know. That was like some old ass like giant castle thing, and they had some French metal band up there, and the headless. They had the Marie Antoinette, headless, singing, and all those metal dudes were perched up. Dude, that thing and all the fire, that was badass. I know everyone's like losing their ass over like that they had something that looked like the Last Supper, but it wasn't the Last Supper.
Oh,
it was
there's a whole lot of pearl clutching going on about those opening ceremonies.
Who freaking
cares? It's an exhibition. What do you care? It's not the games.
Well, it wasn't even the Last Supper. They said it was like some sort of like Greek fest.
Did you see the dude hanging brain though?
Yeah, but it looked like the Last Supper. So now all the Christians are like freaking out about it and like God.
And they're all worried about like that maybe the Olympics is trying to like impart some critical race theory or pro gender. I don't know.
All I know is that metal performance to open the Olympics at that castle, dude. That thing was awesome. That was the best thing I've seen so far in the Olympics.
The other thing we've got in this Olympics, ambassadors. I saw some that I had forgotten about in the water polo arena today, but also Snoop Dogg has become quite the figure. We'll talk racket sports.
Captain of the Olympics.
Yeah, and ambassadors. We got some audio. Snoop Dogg and badminton. That's coming up next. 1080 The Fan staff, Will Darkins, Joe Fisher, and Will Ortner among them.
And yes, to give Will credit, he was demanding it during the break, and I will say publicly, of the 3 ludicrous statements made by 1080 The Fan personalities.
And his is still ludicrous. Don't pat yourself on the back too hard.
Will Darkins saying that he could fight a hippo, Joe Fisher claiming he can run a 5'2", and Will taking a punch from Mike Tyson. Yes, the least absurd of those 3 things is the Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
But that's like being king of the dip-esses. But yes, it is.
Someone has to rule the flies.
Well, the one that I always had that's more tongue-in-cheek, but I've always joked that, like, I would not die in a fire. Like, and I always say, like, if my house caught on fire, I'm finding a way to get out. But yes, then people are like, well, it happens when you're sleeping and smoke inhalation. I'm like, yes, I know. It's kind of tongue in cheek. I've just always been like,
I'd find a way.
It's a 2-story house. Worst comes to worst, I just jump out a window and like I'll deal with
I'll break something, whatever.
I'll deal with the repercussions of jumping from a 2-story. But yes, and because then you always get that one guy that's like, well, my dad died in the fire, and I'm like, okay, dude, like, yes, let's all. I get it.
Everybody settle down.
If you get caught in the smoke and you don't know and you pass out, yes, I can die. I can die in a fire. But that was always my hardline stance of I ain't going out in a fire. In my house, I'm getting out. I may get burned. I may break a leg, but I'm getting out of my house. It's not taking me down.
I need to come up with my claim like that because I don't know that I have one, but I feel like I should.
Most people have one at some point. Like it's the classic, oh, if you gave me 10 shots, I'm making a shot in an NBA game.
Yeah.
Like, could I get a ball out of the infield if I got 100 straight at bats against Clayton Kershaw?
Everyone always has like I said, it's the ego confidence of the American male that you think that because you watch someone do it and you're like, oh, I could do that. I could get lucky. I get 100 swings against Paul Skeens. What are I got to hit one.
I could foul one of them off. No,
you can't. No,
you could not.
No, you could not. Like, oh, I could get in there. No.
Although, you know what was funny? You remember the much maligned Trevor Bauer? Remember him?
Yeah.
He's been trying to get back into Major League Baseball forever. He had the whole awful thing with maybe it was sexual abuse, maybe it wasn't. There were graphic text messages sent all around. He was trying to revamp his career, I think in the South American League or Mexican League.
He's in Mexico.
But at one point in time, he hooked up with the guys at Barstool Sports in their batting cage, and some yutz at Barstool was like, I could probably hit off you, and I'm like, oh, no way. He was touching him up, not because this guy was great at baseball, it's because Trevor Bauer's washed now. And Bauer thought he was going to go and, like, blow away this total schmo.
Really?
Did not.
Well, he also, so that guy, though, he played college baseball.
Did he really?
Oh.
He doesn't look like it.
It wasn't a good college like that he played. It was like a
played.
D3 JUCO type deal, but he did play college baseball, to be fair to him.
Well, I saw a thing we were talking earlier about like movie things that made it into films, like the Indiana Jones, the sword fight, and he takes it out and shoots him, and that was like improv. I was watching a thing once on Denzel Washington, and I think. Will, have you seen He Got Game, or is that before you?
I'm aware of Jesus Shuttlesworth.
You should watch that movie. That should be one of the next ones on the Will watches. That's a good movie.
I've caught parts of it on BET.
Yeah, there's a great part that you should watch. It's the best part of that whole movie.
The recruiting trip?
The recruiting trip.
That's talking to you, Jesus.
Hey!
It's been YouTubed.
But there's a scene towards the end where Denzel Washington and Ray Allen, Jesus Shuttlesworth and his dad in the movie, play each other one-on-one. And the whole point is if Denzel Washington beats him, that Jesus Shuttlesworth will go to where Denzel Washington needs him to go so he can get out of prison, right? That's the whole thing. And in the script, Shuttlesworth is supposed to beat him like 11-0, whatever they're playing to. I don't remember what they're
probably
playing.
11, yeah.
11 or 10 or whatever they're playing to. And that's in the script. But Spike Lee, so that was in the script, but Spike Lee was like, just play. Assuming that Ray Allen would beat, that was peak Ray Allen.
Yeah.
That Ray Allen would beat Denzel Washington 11-0. And Denzel scored. Like, and they said it was funny. So all the bravado of Denzel strutting around at the beginning, that was real. That was not in the script.
He was peacocking because he got a bucket on Ray Allen.
Yeah,
he got
a bucket or two on Ray Allen. And then Ray Allen is like, he's like, okay, we have like, oh, you think you're good. And then Ray Allen starts just kicking his ass. All of that was an actual real thing. And I saw an interview with Denzel. He goes, for a brief moment, he's like, Denzel had that. He goes, that was real. He goes, I felt 10 feet tall. And then he goes, there was something in Ray's eyes that just turned. And he goes, we just kept running. Like we never cut. And even when Denzel gets knocked on his ass and Ray Allen's making him, he said, all of that was real. And he said there was just a switch that got flipped in Ray Allen where Denzel was like, I know. Like this is where the rubber meets the road. So even if you are having one of those moments against like a superior athlete, you realize that all you're going to do is piss that person off. And it's like, okay, here comes the switch. And now I'm about to get my ass kicked.
Well, two things on that note. One, I heard about a year and a half ago, maybe, this blew me away, that Denzel Washington was actually born Denzel. And they realized later that Denzel sounded better, so he just started going by Denzel, even though he was supposed to be Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington?
Yeah. And then
that doesn't have the same ring to it.
Additionally,
Denzel's a badass.
You mentioned Spike Lee. He's now one of these new ambassadors. I did not realize this, or maybe he's just a fan, but he's in Paris for these games, and you and I were watching water polo earlier today, which now that they have the underwater cameras and you watch these men and women like fight like they're in the UFC underneath, it's pretty crazy. But we had talked a couple weeks ago about how Flava Flav was going to be an ambassador for water polo.
Boy.
Yeah, boy. Well, I look up in this Spain-U.S. water polo match, and I had kind of forgotten that, and I see Spike Lee and Flava Flav just losing their mind over the women's water polo, and I'm like, man, we really have gotten somewhere with these ambassadors. I don't know if this is all just a ratings drive or whatever,
Well,
and like you said, the money grab. But
Flavor Flav's putting his own money into it. Like, I guess those gals have won like 2 or 3 straight Olympic gold medals, and yet none of them can actually make a living off of this.
Of course.
So they all work multiple jobs, and so like Flavor Flav is supporting, like he is paying for the U.S. women's Olympic polo team. And so maybe maybe Spike Lee's involved in it. Like, I think it'd be kind of cool if I had a bunch of money, if I was a multimillionaire, I could see myself getting behind some
to support like a lower end or less supported sport.
Yeah, like women's, like I'm in love right now with the women's rugby.
Yeah,
I'm all about I love rugby. It's a great sport. I wish it was more popular in the country. I don't know what the women's rugby funding situation is.
Not good.
But if I was like George Clooney, and
if you could be benevolent,
if I could be, I would 100%. I would pay. I don't know what, like those gals, like if you gave each one of them $100,000, right? And like we're like, hey, this is your job now. I would 100% pay for the female rugby in our country. I think that'd be kind of kick ass.
Yeah,
saying water polo, and then you become like the you become the Phil Knight of U.S. female rugby. Let's go.
It'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that there's been a lot we've seen from Snoop Dogg, from everything from carrying the torch to adding his thoughts on gymnastics.
Snoop Dogg, who at one point was on a murder trial and was considered the most dangerous rapper in the game, is now carrying the Olympic torch and hanging out with Martha Stewart.
Well, and he was asked to do a little badminton highlight with Mike Tirico. Yeah. Before we get to the club, I want you to hear what that sounds like.
Oh, I love this badminton right here. This is a great rally right here between China and the U.S. right here. As you see, it don't stop to the casket drop. They rocking and rolling, back and forth. Give me that. No, I need that. Nope, over here. Nope, over there. What about over there? Nope, what about there? Nope, give me that. I need that. That too. Nope, sit down somewhere. Get out. Wait a minute. Hold it. Way up in the sky. Now down. Back up. Over there. Now over here. Get out the way. Move. I told you we need that. That was a good point.
It's like a 26-shot rally or something like that, and he just goes.
I say what you will about Snoop. Snoop commenting, whether it's on Olympic sports.
We've heard him do hockey.
We did hockey, or when he does the animal videos.
Yeah,
dude, that guy he's the best. He is an absolute sellout of the highest order, and I don't care. Snoop Dogg doing play-by-play on anything is fan-freaking-tastic. And I recently saw that's someone I forget who it was. This was like a couple weeks back. Snoop, we now have the Me Too movement and the whole woke thing or whatever you want to call it. And people have had to apologize for past indiscretions. And
you mean like the million times he's referred to women as bitches?
Yeah. And someone asked Snoop Dogg in an interview if he regretted some of the lyrics that he like, and he cut him off right at the goes. He basically shut it down. He started talking about he loves all his hoes. He started talking. He just like he knew exactly where that question was going. It was like, nope, not at all. And he just doubled down on everything. And I was like, freaking yes. Just in everyone, and nowadays it just cowers over, that threat of whatever, the mob coming after you. I love that Snoop Dogg's like, yeah, no. He's like, I love my hosts, always have, always will. I regret nothing. And you're like, bless America.
Well, coming up in the club, I mentioned the road rage move I kind of want to try. Additionally, we had a plane get grounded for more biohazard issues, and we've got audio this time, and maybe a hot route. Omaha! As we've got a good question in from the Vancouver Ford text line on what would make the dad or man's Olympics. We'll get to all that coming up in the club on The Fan.
rectal cavity.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And once those seeds wear off, you're going to lose most of your motor skills, and you're also going to lose a significant amount of brain functionality for 72 hours, Morty. Starting right about now.
You can also get the power snatch. They are going to rock your ass for 2 hours. I give you 2 dudes swallowing wieners. Fat, uneducated beer, man!
You want some coal?
Yeah, give me some coal.
Then the bonus rewards program kicks in.
I can squirt or suck, yes. And I can squirt from a distance.
Yeah. Well, I had to squirt.
Welcome into the club. It's always a fun time when Will is on the board.
Head coach?
God. What?
It's no good.
I've got a handful of stories here. We're awful. We really are.
Would I have to lay on the naked guy the entire flight?
If you're gonna suck the right way. We've all done it.
Naked guy. Dude. Oh yeah.
There was I think it was about
to restrain somebody.
We were talking about flight staff and having to restrain people, and you're like, what if he does this? What if he does that? You're like, what do I have to lay on this naked guy for the whole flight?
What are you gonna do? Pee on me? Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, there was a naked guy on an airplane. This happened recently. I saw a video. I don't remember where it was at, but it wasn't that long ago. Some dude got naked in a gym and started assaulting people.
What?
Yeah, he just was like going around. They had to call the cops, and the cops eventually came in and tased him. But like if you're at a gym and some naked dude here's my rule, by the way. Like, never fight naked. Like, that's why you never get in a locker room fight. Like, anytime 2 dudes are like yelling at each other, and you're like, seriously, guys, can you put on some freaking pants? Like,
I've never seen so much dong in my life.
Exactly. Like, it's the school ties thing, Brendan Fraser. No one fights naked, right?
Did you ever see
put on some skivvies, and then you two can go at it.
Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen?
Yes.
There's like a bathhouse fight.
Yeah.
There's just wang flying
You're
around.
like, whoa, time out. First off, let's get dressed. Like, there's just certain things you don't do, but like, if you're having to restrain someone, like if I see some naked dude and he's assaulting like gals at the gym, you're gonna have to go over and do something. You just have to just lay on this naked guy the entire time. It's a bit weird, but it's a massive advantage. If you want ultimate intimidation, just get naked. You could probably get away with a lot more if you just you're like, I'm not dealing with this dude. Like, all robbers just get naked. Like, you walk into a place, give me all the cash, and then just strip down naked. Everyone's like, dude, here, take whatever you want. Just Google largest penis in the world, and the dude pops up.
I actually have kind of a crazy story about this. It's like it's a kind of a second degree of separation, but my mom has a coworker that lives in Texas and was the victim of a home invasion at one point in time.
Yeah.
And basically what it wasn't an attempted robbery, but it was somebody who was on the run and had escaped, and they had dogs tracking them down.
Yeah.
So the person, in trying to lose their scent,
ditched
all their clothes, and then they were trying to find an empty or uninhabited house where they could hide out for a minute or grab a car, something like that. But the dude he's at home. He's got a wife and a kid, like a baby, and in the middle of the night, he hears like a tapping on the outside of his house, like kind of on the wood, on the siding, on the window.
That's when you get the Viking axe.
And he's like,
so you
what?
grab the axe and go take a look.
What is that? And he's wondering, and he kind of peers out and he sees a figure. He's like, what the hell? So he just goes out to open the double doors to his backyard. Yeah. And there is a large, athletic black man, fully naked.
Why has it got to be black, huh?
I'm just saying.
Look at Buck painting a picture.
Okay,
dog whistling over there.
Yeah, well, he could have been any color. Does not matter. But there's this large man, a large ripped man. I think that's what I was going for.
I've never seen so much dong in my life.
But he's basically standing there, totally naked, staring him down, and the guy thinks, well, I guess I don't have any other choice at this point. So he rushes into the house at the dude, and spears him, and now he's on the floor, on his back, with this naked dude on top of him, and the guy told, anybody who's told the story to, he's like, I suddenly realized I was in a fight for my life, like out of nowhere, out of the dead of sleep at 2 a.m, and
that's why you don't open the door.
Wife wakes up, she's screaming, kids screaming, they try to bring a knife over to stop the dude, that gets knocked away. Somehow he wrestles this guy out of his house, and then tries to slam the door. And he thinks breaks his arm in slamming the door, and because the dude like pulls back, and then he locks it up. They call.
That wasn't his arm he slammed. Something else.
They called the authorities. Obviously, the dude disappeared. Well, by the next morning, they still hadn't found the guy, and they've got the whole like cul-de-sac on lockdown. Like, be careful, be careful, be careful. And eventually, they get all the houses and the yards cleared, except for one woman who's like an elderly lady who lives by herself, and people are like kind of thinking the worst.
Yeah.
She hasn't been given, or she didn't receive the message like, don't come out of your house.
Yeah.
Don't, like, it's not a safe area, whatever. And she goes to take out the trash, and she flips open the bin, and out pops this dude. And then they're back on the scent again. They find him hours later. But yeah, it was.
I can't think of anything scarier than just it's why you're always like this idea of like when there's a noise downstairs and the missus is like, you go look. You know, for a lot of us, like, if you're just some random dude, you don't have anything, what are you gonna do? What do you do when you go downstairs and there is the psycho killer down there or the escaped fugitive? I've never understood that. It's one thing like if you're married to like Brock Lesnar or something, you're like, hey, go down there and deal with it. But to the average dude,
I'm like, if someone's stealing something in my basement, they can take it. I don't need to go down there. Go call the insurance company tomorrow.
Well, my buddy, who's not a small guy, he lives in a 3-story kind of townhome thing, just on a busy street in Portland, and so his bedroom's on the 3rd floor. No doors or anything. It's just just a walk up, and someone kicked in his front door, and he heard him downstairs. Like walking around, he's like,
I guess I'll just let him do that for a while, or call the cops and just wait for him to get there.
He's like 911. He's like, he now is the proud owner of a Benelli shotgun because of course he is. He had to buy the John Wick gun.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's a dodgy feeling.
I bet.
You're just you don't know what's waiting down there for you. Not everyone's Rambo. Go running down the steps like
I got him.
Well, you think like if someone's like bold enough to kick in your front door and go wandering around in the middle of the night.
And that's exactly it. If someone is brazen enough to, 1, break the law, 2, potentially go into a place that they don't know if someone's armed, if they're, you want to say crazy enough or bold enough to do those things, you don't really know what you're dealing with.
Yeah. It's just, if you do have to go, maybe you need to be naked. Maybe that's the key.
That's what the Vancouver Ford text line saying, that if you ever had to fight Brock Lesnar, clearly the answer is for you to hang dong.
I've never seen so much dong in my life.
No, we all know my patented Brock Lesnar defense, and that's curl into the fetal position, cry, and then hopefully he's just disgusted, and then suck your thumb, and if that doesn't work, just pee yourself.
Ow!
That's really the only.
Ow!
What are you supposed to do? Like, it's like, be a man. What are you supposed to do when
show you my boobs.
When Brock Lesnar's standing in front of you? It's like if you're standing in front of a Bengal tiger. It's the same thing. It ain't happening.
It's also International Tiger Day today.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's why, again, I'm not saying that like I'm like, Mr. Let's all have the guns, but I do see the benefit of home protection. I do. But the odds of that happening, what do they say? You're like 90% more likely to have an accident with your own gun than you are, to actually have an intruder. But in those one in a million cases where someone breaks in, I gotta imagine that's like the most terrible. Like that situation you were saying with your friend.
Yeah,
it's like the scariest thing in the world.
I can't imagine. I honestly don't know how I would react. I do not have a firearm. I'm not coming downstairs with an axe. I'm probably just doing what your buddy did. I'm calling the police and letting them sort it out and trying to hold up with my family as long as I can.
By the way, your friend should immediately, for the rest of his life, turn to his wife and be like, "Hey, great idea for me to go down and check it out. Yeah. How'd that work out? It's a giant naked man rushing me. Good thing I went down there to see what was happening."
Well, we were asked on the Vancouver Ford text line before the break in the last segment, if there were a Dad Olympics, what events should go in it? And I think we can get to this at the end of the show because
naked burglar tackling?
Not naked burglar tackling per se, but the things they mentioned like pound a beer, grill a perfect steak, edge a lawn perfectly. Somebody else submits here, carrying a sleeping baby up or downstairs and keeping them asleep, getting your wife's shopping lists as fast as possible. What are the ultimate dad things that would belong in an Olympic event? Let us know on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-8646-FAN. We'll get to some of those as the show rolls on, but what we need to get to next, the new road rage move that I'm very excited about. I probably won't try it, but I'd like to imagine in my dreams that I possibly would. We'll get to that next on The Club in the Fan. Already some excellent ideas coming in on the Vancouver Ford text line for the Dad Olympics. Someone said the ultimate dad groan for length and loudness when getting out of a chair off of a couch.
I feel like that would be an event I could compete in. Because
I think it'd be great.
I get
at
made
that
fun of all the time. I cannot get up or sit down without making a noise. And yes, the Dad Olympics events are important, but the official uniform, 100%. New Balance, cargo shorts, Timex, fishing shirt, done.
Yeah, fishing shirt or maybe like a button-down plaid, short sleeve kind of a deal.
Maybe a Duluth trading company is involved as an official sponsor.
And as a current Costco man myself, I might say those New Balances could even be a pair of Skechers.
Sure, I'd go.
That is Skechers or now Hoka's.
Yeah.
Hoka's like those are like the new hot orthopedic ones.
Those are just running though. Are people wearing those normal?
Oh, older adults, they get recommended by like every podiatrist out there because I think they're really supportive on feet, ankles, and joints, and so they get recommended to every old out there. My dad has had both knees replaced. He wears Hoka's all the time.
Of course he does.
Yes.
Those sweet you see those things in the wild, you're like, wow.
They are
something else.
They're loud. They're not subtle, those Hoka's.
I had to buy those for someone once.
But I want to get to, we will continue with some of these Olympic events. There are some really good ones coming in on the Vancouver Ford text line. But I saw a road rage incident or video that I've never really seen before or one like this. And it intersects with the world of sport. I will pull it up here for you, Sook. But man gets out of his Corvette here. And the woman behind him at the light, she chucks something at him. He's so mad, he goes tomahawk dunk on her side view mirror. Dude comes out of here like, I need Kevin Harlan calling play-by-play with no regard for human life. Whoom! He just mashes the side of his side view. The girl who's in the car behind is like, are you kidding? She ends up hanging her phone out. She gets a photo of his license plate, and then she asks the drivers next to him, like, did you happen to get that on video? Because they're at a city stoplight. And I don't know what the altercation was beforehand, but not actually, hopefully you would hope he wouldn't get physical with this person anyways, but getting up to the line of not actually touching the other person and just going tomahawk poster jam on their side view mirror, I kind of love it.
Dude, that is phenomenal. That's like when you were like a little kid and you'd like be on the Nerf hoop.
Yes!
That was like, that's how you dunked.
Reverse 360!
That's how you dunked. Wow, I've never seen that one.
I haven't either.
I do feel like the side view mirror in the road rage, I feel like the side view, the side mirror, that is maybe the most punished car part. I feel like a lot of people, because it's satisfying about like ripping it off. Because I've seen people kick it. Mm-hmm. I've seen people grab it and rip it off. I can't say I've ever seen it elevate like that. And by the way, he's got good. There's a good hop there.
There's no way this guy isn't a basketball fan.
Probably a 35-inch vert, I'd say.
That's
maybe
solid. He's got good ups, and he does come down with a nice like. Like the double axe handle WWE off the top rope.
By the way, if you just
he's gonna feel like an idiot when he gets arrested and does some time in county jail and then pays this lady a couple $1,000.
I put this video on my Twitter timeline earlier today saying I just need to hear someone overlay on TikTok like some Kevin Harlan commentary on it because he's done so many good dunks and he's got the right voice for it. But I just love the enthusiasm from this, I don't know, middle 30s business bro who's all upset about his Corvette or whatever happened. And like I said, don't condone road rage. I don't think that we should go fight each other or damage each other's cars. But if ever I were to be that mad, I think going tomahawk jam on the side view mirror might be my style.
It is fascinating that of all the road rage, like, it's never the road rage. It's never what happens in the car that makes you that angry.
You were already that angry.
So that's what I always want to know. Like, I would love to sit down with people that get caught in these sorts of things and talk to Tomahawk Bro here and be like, what was happening in your day that led you to this? What led you to elevate? And like, did it feel great after? As you drove away, was there immediate regret? Were you like, oh hell, like, are you waiting for the cops to call you because you know they're coming?
Yeah, I think as soon as you're done with that and you turn the corner, you're like, oh man, when are the cops showing up?
Because you see these all the time now, like where
everything's getting videotaped or dash cammed or whatever.
And like you see this like where like they're videotaping you and the person's like, go ahead and videotape me. And like, dude, you're going to jail. Like, you're gonna get arrested and you're gonna lose your job. And they can't help themselves. Anger is such a fascinating thing.
But I think you're right.
And it's
I want
over
to
the
know
most like meaningless whatever traffic sort of thing you've got going on. I want to know what's going on deep down in my Tomahawk guy.
Yeah, I want to know what was going on so bad in his day, but then additionally, what was so bad in traffic with this, younger gal that looked like that she did that was so awful? Because we only see the part where she chucks something, and there's no way that this tomahawk is related to just her tossing that object. There's no way.
I told you it was a couple weeks ago, and I thought something was about to go down where I was at the four-way stop and the dude on the Lime scooter, he came rolling over. And he was at my window, and I was like, oh my God, this is happening.
Here we go.
I was like, this is really gonna happen. I had this just this absolute pit in my stomach of, is this guy gonna come over and I was like, is he gonna take his scooter and just start swinging at my car? And then you go through in my head, I go through the scenarios. Do I just run him over?
What do I have to do? What am I supposed to do? What's in my legal right?
You have to get naked, clearly, and then fight him. We've determined this.
Do I hang dong? Do I just get out of the... Then that was my thought, because he wasn't a big guy. I'm like, do I just get out of the car preemptively?
He put the USDA stamp on his dong?
To try to scare him?
I think you preemptively get naked, jump out, flex at him. It's the only way to stop this situation.
I'm going to kick your ass, you little bitch.
I have not had a road rage incident in forever. And I've never really had anyone, actively confront me. I did have someone follow me once.
Ooh.
And that was maybe a year or two ago.
Those are fun.
He followed me to jiu-jitsu, and I parked my car and got out, and then he drove off, which I did think was kind of funny.
I've had that happen too.
Because I did get out in front. I parked right in front of the big sign, and it was me getting out. And I turned and looked at him and was like, eh.
The moment they realized they don't want that smoke?
Well, and he drove away, and again, but I thought, I was pretty nervous because I thought, again, if you're willing to drive that far and then you see where I'm going and then you see me get out, that's where I'm like, crap. Again, I don't care how big and tough you are. If that dude's got a gun, it doesn't matter. It wasn't like I turned and was like, dude, let's go. I was kind of getting out of the car do I need to start ducking? I'm like, what's going on here? And he just drove off. But the Lime scooter guy was interesting. I had all that stuff go through my head of, do I drive off? Do I throw it in reverse and just peel around him? Because again, he's in front of me, so I can't go forward because the scooter's blocking me. He's going over to the window. I'm like, do I roll down the window or do I open the door?
Or do you open the door and check him? Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things. And luckily, the dude was just mad, and then he calmed down and, nothing. And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. And he got on his scooter and drove away. But it's a terrible feeling. When you realize through no fault of your own, you're like, oh, crap.
Now I'm in it.
I'm in the middle of something. I don't want to be in the middle of this.
I was
I'm
hot.
on my way to get some Chick-fil-A, man. Leave me alone.
In college, when it happened to me, we were in the Jack in the Box drive-thru, and my roommate, I didn't know it at the time, he had rolled my window down and he threw something at the car behind us. They followed us back to our house. Yeah. I sent him to his room without any supper. I opened the door and I yelled at him to get into his room. And it was 4 dudes in a big old pickup truck. And I got out of the car and I said, you better leave or it's going to get bad. And I've never been more proud. They did not know. I could have taken one. I don't know if I could have taken all 4.
You never know. You just never know what's coming out of that car. So just stay in the car. It's like that dude in Portland not too long ago. That dude was having a bad day and he ran over to yell at that dude in the Mercedes. Yep. And dude got, lost his life. Lost his life over it.
Yeah, that's why I will probably stop giving the finger.
Stop giving the finger.
And also probably why I'll never tomahawk jam someone's side view, but I really want to.
I'm not going to lie. I would love to see Buck. And if you don't know that video, look that thing up or post that thing.
I put it on my Twitter timeline today, and also if you just look up Miami Road Rage, it'll pop up.
That is one of the better road rage actions I have seen because it's just so odd.
I mean, he cocks it back like he is in NBA Jam. Boom shakalaka.
I guarantee in that brief moment, that guy felt like that was the best that guy's ever felt. When he tomahawked that mirror and it went to the ground, in that one instant before the regret set in of I'm about to get arrested, he was on cloud 9. He was champion of the world.
And then he turned the corner and he went, oh crap.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's on video, and that's when you just call the cops. You're like, look, I know you guys are coming for me. Where do I turn myself in? Let me pay the fine, and we'll move on.
Well, if you know this show, you know that we cannot have a diverted or grounded airliner without a discussion. More biohazard issues, this time with audio from the cockpit. That's coming up next. But first, Orton Sports Center.
Now, from the
Lots more events coming in for the Dad Olympics that we have started to bandy about, including, let's see here. We have first we have the grand prize for the Dad Olympics. Should not be a medal, but rather a $50 gift card to Home Depot. I like that.
I was thinking some sort of like a Craftsman tool chest, like those rolling, like the snap-on tool things.
Okay, yeah.
Have you seen those? Those things are like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But like it's like every dad's dream to like have like a kick-ass place to keep your tools. Maybe a new deck.
Somebody says that you should do car washing. I like the idea that you could judge, you could incorporate speed and quality, efficiency on it. You know, you could get a judging going on.
Dad's still out there washing cars
I
nowadays?
think so.
I thought that was mom's.
Oh, is it? Well, both. It's going to be the parent Olympics.
According to Tires, it's mom's.
I got to go like lawn mowing. The lawn mowing one.
Lawn mowing, either striping, edging, something like that. Like make an overgrown lawn look good.
Some sort of lawn mowing / deck. When I think of like dads doing stuff, I think of deck building. I think of mowing the yard and shoddy repairs. Like given the improper tools and then a task to get it done. Like a hanging gutter, but you're not giving anything that you would actually need to fix the gutter and still finding a way to get it done. Like adapt and improvise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I do like the way that works. I was also thinking power washing. Like you have this much area, how quick can you get it done and really not have a trace?
I'm not gonna lie. One of the great dad pleasures is a good power wash.
Yeah, I did the whole sport court last weekend. It felt so
My
freaking
dad
good.
did that too.
Right? Dude, when you power wash something and you get done and you finish it, dude, that is...
Well, and the satisfaction is instantaneous.
That's tomahawking a rear view mirror, like a side mirror off a car. It's that feeling.
Even when you're 3% done, the 3% that's clean, you're like, oh, look at that. The rest of it's going to look like that.
The problem that I have is I can't let it go. Like, as I'm pressure washing, like, it's never clean enough.
I know.
As soon as I think I'm done and I go to put it away, I see a spot.
Yep.
And it becomes like an OCD thing. It's real problematic.
And my sport court, it's mostly level, but there are a couple spots where it pools up a little bit. So then stuff that's been pushed or brushed off, like it'll puddle up again as soon as it dries. I'm like, well, I got to take care of that tomorrow. Got to do it.
It's a problem. I have a pressure washing stopping issue where it just to where I don't want to start pressure washing because I know that what should be like a 2-hour project turns into like an entire weekend. It's an issue. Instead of like being addicted to like crack, I'm addicted to pressure washing because it's an amazing feeling. And then you start looking for other things. As soon as I'm done pressure washing the deck, I'm like, well, I'm dirty anyways. Might as well start pressure washing this.
Keep it rolling.
And next thing you know, you're just like, I'm going to a neighbor. Hey, you need something to be pressure washed? Like, I need a fix. Like, I can do it. I can do it, man. I still got sunlight. Let's go.
And then there's the person who says that we should have an event progressively fixing more larger and larger broken items with duct tape or with WD-40.
See, there you go. There goes to my, you have to fix crap without proper tools. And then, of course, there's got to be some sort of grilling competition.
Definitely. So the two that have come up, I mean, I think that a great measure of a good griller is like, can you grill the perfect steak?
Yeah. Which I cannot, by the way.
But somebody else said that that pumping out 10 burgers off the grill for a barbecue or a party, that could be a good one.
Am I the only dad that fully admits that I'm very mid when it comes to my barbicuing?
No, I think there are plenty.
Like every guy I know is like, all right, out of my way, I got this. It's not bad. I'm not saying that like I cook anything like poor, but if you come over to my house and like we did this for the 4th of July, like if you're coming over to my house for the 4th of July and I'm in charge of cooking, just be prepared. You're not getting world class.
Yeah.
It's just not. I don't have anything I do that's world class. I can do some ribs. I can cook. How hard is it to cook a burger? But if you like want your steak, you're like, hey, can you do my steak medium? I don't know. Can I? You tell me. I'm going to put it right there. And when you want it to be done, you let me know and you can take it off. I have no way of knowing. I cook all my steaks the exact same way. And if you don't like it that way, I don't know what to tell you.
See, this is why I'm like a cooler guy or like a fancy drink guy. Like I had to go to a barbecue on Saturday night and everyone was expected to bring their best appetizers.
Sure.
I bought some Basil Hayden and just showed up with whiskey. I'm like, you don't want anything
That's a good move. That's
you
a
don't
strong
want
move.
anything that I'm going to cook. You're not going to be excited about it. You'll be excited about this whiskey, and you're going to want to drink it, and it's going to be a good time.
You know what else is kind of a fun move is don't bring something that you made. I've seen, and this more when I was your age, but like go to Taco Bell and get a couple family packs. Just bring over 30 Taco Bell tacos and be like, well, I wasn't going to cook, but here we go. This will feed, a bunch of people. Some snacks.
Yeah, there is nothing that I am going to cook that is going to be better than a Chick-fil-A family pack. I'll go to Wingstop and grab like a pack of It's better than the wings I'm going to make. Mm-hmm. Why would I attempt to spend all that time? And by the way, half the time it's more expensive to make my own wings.
If you need all the ingredients, yeah, that can be more expensive for sure.
I just know I'm not like it doesn't make me less of a man that I can't grill. Although you know what does make me less of a man? And by the way, this to me, if you're having a Dad Olympics, there is one event that to me would be the 100-meter dash.
Ooh.
It is the ultimate dad move, and I would fail miserably. And it's the one thing I cannot do that does make me feel like less of a man.
Okay.
Like I am horrible at it. Like I'm competent at the grill. Like again, I'll make some ribs.
Yeah, you can make it work.
I can make it work. I'll cook burgers, steak, whatever. It's fine. It's not the best, not the worst. I cannot do this, and it embarrasses me. I have actually turned this duty over in real time to another dad.
Okay.
Because I know what's coming.
In your own house?
Well, it's not in a house. It's something that you do out and about. And just see if you can. It is the ultimate power dad move. If you can't figure out where I'm going
Change
with
your
this.
oil?
Oh, no. I ain't change.
Okay.
Oil.
I don't know. I'm guessing
Change
what would be
tire?
the...
No. Change the tire, no big deal. I got that. Easy.
Let's stew on that.
But it is pathetic. And
Tucking your polo into your jean shorts?
If you saw me do it, you would be like, what in the hell? What are you doing?
I'll let the listeners have some guesses on that, and we'll pivot.
Because it truly is. When you watch a dad do it, and he does it well and nails it, you are like, effing yeah.
Oh,
okay,
hold on.
That guy. That guy is my dad.
I have an idea. We will revisit this in our final segment. But before we get to that, a United flight headed from Houston to Boston had to be grounded in D.C., not very far from Boston. Rob would be screaming about this because you're really darn close to your destination. But here's what was heard between the cockpit and the air traffic control.
To the doctor, and I talked to the crew, and it sounds like it's quite bad back there. It's still really bad. The crew is vomiting, and passengers all around are asking for maps, etc. And it sounds like I think 20-minute flight to Cleveland is probably the better option instead of going an hour and 40 to straight ahead to Boston. Especially with it kind of being a biohazard. I think we need to probably get this plane on the ground ASAP.
So we've had biohazard issues before. We've even seen a picture aftermath of like what looked like a trail from somebody's seat to the bathroom or something. I don't know what happened up there, but the fact that crew was vomiting and people needed masks, it sounded like there was such a situation that this might have trumped that previous one as far as the need to get down on the ground. I know they were close, but apparently they got everybody off the flight, and then they brought on a crew to do a full deep clean, and then they put people back on the same plane and sent them on anyways.
What was happening?
The details are hazy, I think, for privacy of the person that was involved. It sounds like somebody just lost it all. And I don't know if that was like, I don't know if it was I-5 north or south or whether it was both. And I've looked at a couple articles trying to get more details. There aren't many out there. But it was so bad. I mean, I get how a smell could be, but the fact that you had a vomiting crew, I can't imagine what it was like up in that metal tube.
And I wonder if Rupp would still say, keep going. Because said it was 20 minutes to Cleveland or an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And according to Rupp, you keep going for the hour and a half. I love that guy's like, dude, 20 minutes to Cleveland. we got to get down.
Yeah.
I need details. And someone's going to have a camera. It'll come out.
I bet we will have details by this time tomorrow.
It'll come out.
And at that point in time, we'll update you. But coming up next, we have to finish up our Dad Olympics ideas and what is the one thing that Suk would place last at those Olympics. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
It's The Fan on Demand.
Well, we have lots of guesses as to what Sook's inept dad skill might be. I have tried to guess a number of them during the break. I have not hit it yet. I think it's going to be something that he should be able to do and can't.
Yeah.
But everything that I guess, like pitching a tent, camping, leveling out an RV.
I'm not like the manliest of men, but I'm
you're
a bit of a man's man. I'm fine out in the woods. You know, none of that stuff. Change tires, car stuff doesn't bother me. I'm a pretty good. I can fix a hot water heater. Can take some stuff apart. I'm a fairly handy guy, which is why this is my ultimate shame. And in real time, I had someone like see me, and it was so bad. He felt so bad for me. Another random dad was like, "Hey man, do you need me to do that?" And I was like, "Yes, I do," because my shame was so great. And let me just put this right now. My 7th concentric circle of hell. You know, like your version of hell, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you go to hell.
The place you don't want to end
Yeah,
up.
it's the idea of like, you know, it's not fire and brimstone. It's just like whatever you conjure in your mind is like an awful situation and you have to be there forever.
A golden corral.
Yeah, the golden corral on an Easter Sunday, right? And they're out of fresh bread.
The Hooters on New Year's Eve.
The Las Vegas Hooters.
Ooh. At least you had a casino there.
Yes.
It's true.
Let me paint the picture for you on a crisp Saturday morn. About 72 degrees and getting warmer. About 10:30. Little place I like to call Lake Merwin, up in Washington.
Okay.
Me?
I'm aware.
What?
Mm-hmm. I'm aware of this place. Been there.
Me in my Lincoln Navigator, attached to my buddy's boat. And we had 2 boats that day, and he said, "Hey, do you think you could pull one of these boats up there and launch it with me?" And I was like, yeah. Why? I've never done it before, but how bad could it be? Let me tell you something. My 7th concentric circle of hell is having to back up a 25-foot boat on a busy-ass Saturday where everyone is waiting to use the boat ramp, and I am having to back that thing up. I have the inability. I cannot back up a boat. I cannot back up a trailer. It was the worst. I spent probably 12 minutes, and people are honking at me. People are cursing at me. People are questioning my manhood, and they had every right to. Every single right. I must have tried at least 17 times to get that effing trailer down the boat ramp into the water and failed miserably every single time. And I've got like the guy yelling at me, "No, you got to turn left." And my wife, "No, the wrong way." And I just am yelling. I got kids in the back. I am making up new curse words. And God bless America, there was a nice, just middle-aged dad in some flip-flops that just came over, and he was like, "Hey, do you need some help?" And I was like, "Yes."
Like, thank God someone sees this and isn't just screaming at me.
And it wasn't like, "Hey, help me." Like, he just was like, "Dude, I got this." He's like, "Just hop on out." We all got out of the car. He got into it. And in the span of like 37 seconds, he backed that sweet bastard right down in the water.
And so I'm curious, was the issue that like you would like start to overcompensate? You're zigzagging it?
I cannot back up a trailer or a boat. I cannot do it.
But
I am incapable.
It had to be more complicated than just backing up straight, right?
No, there is no straight. If you ever launched a boat?
No.
Dude, there is no straight. There's cars and boats everywhere, and you have to back around a corner.
So you're maneuvering.
Yes, and there's 2, when you're launching a boat ramp, boats are launching side by side. So it's not like you have this big, empty, free space. You are going to run into a boat beside you, and there's like 50 other boats waiting to launch. It is the most stressful situation I've ever been to. And I realized in that moment, I'm incapable. I've never attempted it since. If you ask me right now, "Hey, you want to back a boat up on a busy Saturday? I'll give you $100,000 if you do it." I'm like, "Go to hell," because I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm going to wreck the boat. I'm going to tip it over. And anyone, like, if you can do it, you have my undying respect. But if you've never attempted it, and I'm not talking about some little candy-ass boat.
Real boat.
Dude, a real big-ass boat.
That you can't mess up, that you can't ding around. Yeah.
It wasn't even my boat. And I couldn't see anything. This boat was 4 times the size of my stupid truck. It was just, and each time I messed up, it got worse and worse because I could see the eyes and the judgment and hear the people and the honks.
The groaning, the impatience.
And the guy next to me who's launching his boat is like, "Hey, jackass, you're going to run into me." And I'm like, "Go to hell." Like, I will stab you in the eye with my thumb. I'm just losing it. yeah, trucks, balls, yeah. It's just the effing worst. And if you've never attempted it, don't you say an effing word until you have tried to back up a trailer or a boat at a busy campground on a holiday weekend or a busy boat ramp. Because if you've never done it, you have no idea what you're talking about. None.
I love this. Also on the Vancouver Ford text line, someone said part of the Data Olympics should be parallel parking. I think that's a pretty good one. This, a more advanced version of that, clearly. But there have been a bunch of other ideas coming in that I think are pretty good. Someone did guess backing up a trailer. I missed that about 10 minutes ago. Someone on the Vancouver Ford text line guessed your bugaboo.
It is just the effing worst.
I wouldn't be able to do it either.
No.
I'm sure fine. I wouldn't be able to.
I wouldn't be able to.
And of course, the guy saying, "Hey, put your hands," like the guy telling me how to do it. I want you to know if
I tried that,
I will slap you. Like that guy that comes up to me and is just like, "Well, all you got to do," I will kick you in the nuts if you come up to me and are like, "Hey, all you got to do." No, that's not all you got to do. You don't know what the pressure is like. You have no idea. Which is why my true American hero is like the 18-wheeler guy that can back one of those things up. You ever been like at a Safeway or a QFC or whatever, and you watch one of those guys back that son of a gun up into the loading dock?
They've got every angle figured. Yeah,
dude, that guy.
And he does it in one shot in 2 moves. Yeah,
dude, that dude is he's my Hulk Hogan. If you're one of those guys, or again at a busy boat ramp, and you've got some big ass thing, you swing that thing perfectly in there, and I look at you and just in awe. That's my Peyton Manning moment. I want your autograph, not Peyton Manning's. Like that, that's the guy I want to get the black belt from. That guy is the man.
Other